Good morning, this is the JVS show. I'm Iain Lee, standing in for Jonathan Vernon Smith, who's on a nice holiday somewhere nice and warm, so good luck to him. On the big phone in this morning, I'm asking, do you want to be in or out of the European Union? David Cameron will update the Commons later on the recent European Union summit. It's likely to focus on whether the Prime Minister will hold a referendum on Britain's relationship with the EU. He had ruled it out, but now says he'll consider it in the future. The Conservative MP, George Eustice, who used to be a member of the Eurosceptic party UKIP, said David Cameron is taking the right approach.
The point I think he was really making is that before we have a referendum, we need to do that renegotiation. And I agree with that, because I think the majority of people in this country don't want to leave the EU altogether, and they certainly don't want to join the euro and sign up for the further integration. And if we're going to have a referendum, we've got to give people the choice they really want, and that is to actually stay in the EU, but under new terms.
Well, do you agree with that? That most of us here in the UK don't want to leave the EU? Today I'm asking, do you want to be in or out of the European Union? Whatever your story, I'd like to hear it. Perhaps you think that it's better that we're part of the EU. We benefit from it through enhanced trade links, and those links will be broken if we left. Or maybe you think we have the raw end of the deal. We end up paying out millions to help other parts of the EU when we're struggling ourselves. Or perhaps you're relieved that David Cameron is finally saying he'll consider a referendum. The sooner the UK can make its real feelings known, the better. So, today I'm asking, do you want to be in or out of the European Union?
On FM, AM and online at bbc.co.uk/3 counties. BBC Three Counties Radio.
Now, the way this works is I sit here and talk, and you hopefully phone me up. Otherwise, we don't have much of a show. So do give me a call, 08459 455 555. You can also text me. Text 81333 81333. Start your text 3CR. 3CR, yes, that's correct, isn't it? Or, Jonathan has let me use his email. So you can email me, jvsshow@bbc.co.uk. If you send him anything a bit personal, don't send it because I'll get to see it, and that would be highly inappropriate. Now, on the line, we should have Richard in Bedford. Good morning, Richard.
Good morning, Iain.
How are you doing? You all right?
No, very well, thank you.
Now, are you a fan of Europe?
Well, not as it's set up, I'm not, no.
Why?
I voted to be part of a trading bloc, not to be politically run by Europe.
Yeah.
So if it's a straight vote, in or out, then I'm afraid we have to come out.
But won't we lose the trading benefits?
Well, no, not at all, because we import far more from Europe than we export.
Yeah.
So therefore they wouldn't want to lose that trade. We're always going to trade. But we are a nation that trades worldwide. You know, we have a whole world to trade in, and we should be free to do exactly that.
But in the world of trade, though, Richard, we're small fry, aren't we?
No,
compared to China and America.
Well, but we still trade, you know,
Yeah.
and that doesn't really come into it. We trade with China, we trade with America, the American bloc. It's a terrific, trading area that we already make a lot of money. So it's scaremongering to say that we're going to lose that. We're not going to lose that. It's wrong. And, you know, it's illegal to have transfer of power to Europe.
Sorry?
It's illegal to have Westminster's powers transferred to Europe. There's a law stating quite clearly.
Go on.
Well, in the English Bill of Rights of 1686, I know it's old, but it's still on the statute book.
Yeah.
It's parliamentary procedures should not be transferred to any other place.
Yeah.
And that clearly states that. I've got it in writing.
But there's a law that says you can shoot a Scotsman in York with a bow and arrow, but it doesn't mean that it...
But this is to protect Westminster's Parliament's power against other people running us. And that law should have been repealed before powers were given away. And I want to know why this has not been picked up and not been sorted.
How do the laws that are made in Europe... What laws in Europe affect you specifically, Richard?
Well, it's not a question about what laws are made. It's a question of Westminster and my Parliament having the power to make the laws that I vote people into to have those powers. And I'm not voting in the Commission. They are self-regulating. It's all wrong, and I'm totally.
But so there are no specific laws you can think of that Europe have decreed that impact on your life negatively.
Not offhand. I can't. No, but it's the principle of somebody else running this country when the vast majority of people today have not had a vote in saying one way or the other, they want to be governed by somebody else.
But we're not being governed by somebody else, though, are we? Really?
Well, of course we are. The vast majority of the rules and regulations coming down now are being rubber stamped by Westminster. It's becoming a big council rather than a parliament.
But Richard, I'm going to push you on this slightly. If none of them are affecting you adversely or in a negative way,
well, they are affecting me, aren't they?
Well, but negatively.
Well, they're affecting me in the sense that I'm voting for my MP to go to Parliament to help run this country, and the powers are being transferred for somebody else to do it. I'm not voting for my MP to do that.
Okay, but you don't disagree with any of the laws that have been passed down?
Well, I'm going to have to go into that now. I'm sure I would do it. Well, I disagree with any laws being passed down from Strasbourg that affects this country. I want the laws to be set by our laws and not have a higher authority overrule our top laws.
But in a way, Richard, you have voted for this. Did you say that you voted...
I voted for an economic union, EEC I voted for. It was sold to us as a trading bloc. It wasn't sold to us as a political giant that it's become. Okay. And that's where we need a referendum for the people to well and truly sort this out. Because I'm sure the vast majority of people don't like this, because every time it's talked about and the papers go into it, and the vast majority don't want it. It's about 80% that don't want it.
80%? And where's that figure from?
Well, I've seen it there written down through the various newspapers.
Do you think that... maybe the people who are against Europe are perhaps slightly more vocal and a bit louder?
Well, yeah, because we've got a lot to say. Those that want it are keeping quiet. But I want this issue of the legality of it being brought up, because it's wrong. You cannot break the law like that and then just pass powers away to another party. But it clearly says that the parliamentary procedures cannot, or should not, it says, should not be transferred to another place. That was set up to protect Parliament, and it's treasonous. Yes. It's treason.
It's treason. Richard, there we go. Thank you very much. Richard in Bedford saying that it is treason to hand over so many powers to Europe. I'm not quite... You can still be hung for treason, I think, can't you? That would be terrible. Linda Jack is a former European candidate for the Liberal Democrats. Good morning, Linda.
Hi, Darian.
What do you think about Europe? Should we be in or out?
Well, I'm very clear that we should be in. That doesn't mean I'm against a referendum of some sort, and I've always actually supported the idea that you would have an in-out referendum, because people have called for it for ages. I think that the issue at the moment is that, and I think even those people that want an in-out referendum accept that now's not the time when you're in such turmoil. It's a bit like people getting divorced after one very angry row. Stand back a bit, let's wait till the dust settles.
But we are being hit by the fallout, and the fallout's going to go on for years, isn't it?
But I can tell you, the fallout will be a lot worse if we suddenly pulled out. I mean...
How would it be? In what way would it be worse?
I think that we have a huge economic problem, that's affecting us all. And a lot of that is created by instability. As soon as you get more and more instability, it creates more of a problem and more of a panic in the markets. So I think that's why the government, and I would agree with them on this, I don't agree with them on a lot of things, but are actually wise to say, well, look, let's not create even more uncertainty. Let's say we'll put this on hold until things settle down.
Do you think
we'll all be affected by it? And, whether we are in the Euro or not, we are still being affected by a lot of the decisions.
Do you think that people know enough to vote sensibly and thoughtfully? I read up about this. I don't think I know enough to decide yes or no.
Well, no, and I think, for me, one of the advantages and why it was always Lib Dem policy to have an in-out referendum is that we would have to discuss it as a country, and we would have to know what we were talking about. So all this nonsense about, that UKIP's about, for example, like 75% of our laws are made over in Europe would be challenged, and people would look at, what were the advantages and what were the disadvantages of being part of Europe. That's not to say that I don't agree that there are areas that really need renegotiation. The common agriculture policy, the issue with, having 2 seats of parliament, which costs everybody a lot of money, which is ridiculous. But you need to do that within a context of stability, and you also need to do it, as you say, with knowing the answers. Now, one of the things that slightly concerns me over the last couple of days with the debate is that there's a kind of chat that it's not going to be about in and out, it's going to be about a range of things. you cannot have a complicated referendum. A referendum needs to be as simple as possible, so people know exactly what they're voting for.
And also, it's not going to happen in this Parliament, is it? This government?
No, it won't happen at all. And actually, I've just been reading an article by Tim Montgomery, who's one of the Tories' kind of leading exponents about coming out of the EU, who doesn't want an EU referendum, in and out referendum, because he thinks that they might lose it. So, I think once you actually put all the facts to people and look at, we are not, well, we are an island, but...
Well, yes, we are. Literally an island.
We're literally an island, but, politically and globally, we are part of a global economy, and actually being part of Europe gives us a lot more power than if we were out of it.
How much does it cost us to be in Europe?
Well, there's all sorts, all of the arguments, I think... UKIP always saying it's about 15 million a day or whatever it costs. But I think you have to, whatever... But
are they right to say, when you say UKIP in a disparaging way, are they right to say it's 50 million a day?
I can't give you the exact figure of what it costs. I think, because the other problem is, it's...
You were a European candidate. I would have thought you would have known.
That was in 2008, so I would have had all the fingers at my fingertips then.
Yes.
2009. But...
if it is 50 million a day...
Yeah.
That's a lot of money, isn't it? Think of the hospitals and the schools we could build.
But also, you have to look at what is, the advantage to us and what you gain by being part of it. Because if you think about it, there's two issues for me. One is, some of that money comes back, and now there is an argument which I think needs exploring about, you give the money and then it comes back. What's the point of that? And we've, people
That's a good argument.
People in Bedfordshire have gained massively. In Luton and Bedford, there's been loads of projects. I was involved in projects in Bedford where
give me one project where they benefited.
In Bedford, the SRB project that was run in Queen's Park.
What was that?
The regeneration project. That was all European money.
But if we weren't paying the £50 million a day, and we kind of, assuming that UKIP are right on this, then we could afford to do all of those things anyway, couldn't we?
You could, but you're missing my second point.
Okay.
My second point is that, people should remember where the European Union came from, and it came as an attempt to stop Europe ever going back to war again.
Yep.
Because the notion was, and it started, as you probably know, with France and Germany, the notion was, if you trade together, then you're less likely to go to war together. So you look at what we're trying to do, which is to actually create more stability in the long run in Europe. So hence bringing in the Eastern European countries in a way that then means they're part of the club. When you're part of a club, you're much less likely to fight with the club.
That may be where
so it's in our long-term economic interest for that to happen.
Exactly. Now that's a good point to say that there was born from a place of trying to create peace, but it's not really about that anymore, though, is it? It is about money.
But you're talking about stability, and you're talking about stability in the wide. You look at the Balkans. You look, who are now the Balkan states wanting to be part of Europe. You look at what's happened, sort of in the Poland and some of the other countries which have come in.
Yeah.
It's actually created much more stability for them as a country. And so while we might resent the fact that our money is going there, we are. We cannot be isolationist in this. And I think that what people need to remember, if we did pull out of Europe, we would still be subject to many of the laws in order to be able to trade. We'd be subject to the laws without being part of it. So when we say, Europe's telling us to do this, well, we are Europe. We're at the table. We need a seat at the table. If we don't have a seat at the table, we have no say in what goes on. And, I think if you look at, imagine now with some of the discussions and debates that going on, if we weren't part of that and able to put our view, whether I agree with Cameron or not, I think it's very important that we have our politicians at the table.
Linda, thank you very much. Linda Jack is a former European candidate for the Liberal Democrats. What do you think, dear listener? Do you agree? Should we be in or should we be out? It's a simple question. I'm not sure if I were presented with a referendum, yes or no, that I know enough to make a decision. Surely, if you voted, you'd be voting with your heart and not your head. And is that the right way to make a decision? That's why I vote for people to be in Parliament, so they can make these decisions for me. You can give me a call if you want, 08459 455 555. Be nice to get your views on this, because I remember years ago, I was kind of all up for the euro. I was like, yeah, let's get it. Let's get rid of pounds and pence. We moved on from pounds, shillings and pence. Thank God, imagine doing that now. And let's bring on the euro. I guess I'm relieved that we didn't take that up. We would have been in an awful mess now. But what do you think? 08459 455 555. We've got Alan in Bletchley. Hello, Alan.
Morning, Ian.
Morning, Alan. What can I do for you?
Well, the answer is very simple, really. We should just get out of Europe.
Wow.
And stay out. And I think that's the opinion of the majority of people in this country.
Well, now, listen, Richard said this earlier on, that he thinks the majority of people... Where do you get that impression from?
Well, if you read the papers, Ian, you'll know that it's something like 80%.
But, where does that 80% come from? The Sun? Because there are certain papers that want to be out. There are some that kind of want to be in. But
they've done surveys, haven't they, Ian? You must know that.
Well, I know, but I've not heard this figure of 80%. That's why I'm questioning it.
Well, I mean, you haven't heard it, but you should have read it if you read the newspaper.
Okay, I haven't read it.
Majority.
That's why I'm questioning it. What newspaper was it in?
Well, I can't say, but it's the majority of people in the country, isn't it?
Well, it is if it's true, but as I haven't seen the figure, I have... well, I don't know. As I haven't seen the figure, I have to question it, and that's why I'm asking you about it, and that's why I'm asking you what paper it's from, and you don't know... what paper it's from, so I have to have a question mark by it.
You don't know what paper it is anyway, Ian, obviously, because you're not even reading them. You've never even heard of the figure.
Well, no, no.
Other people have heard the figure, and you haven't.
Well, no, you're the one... No, be careful, Alan. You're the one that's giving the figure to me. That's why I'm questioning it.
Well, I'm simply saying to you that the majority of people in this country, from the surveys made...
Okay.
Written in papers that you haven't read is the vast majority.
I do read a lot of newspapers, Alan, probably more than you do.
Well, you think so anyway. Hey, carry on, Ian.
Well, I don't know where this attitude has come from all of a sudden, Alan. I've only been in the show for 20 minutes. I know you're upset that Jonathan's not here. He'll be back next week.
You're simply saying to me what newspaper, and I can't tell you this newspaper.
Well,
probably the Daily Mail, I should have.
Okay, so you're giving me a figure, but you don't know where it's from. That's all I'm asking.
But carry on then, Ian.
Well, no, I have to question the figure if it's given. If you don't know where it's from, that does throw a slight question mark over it, doesn't it? You'd agree with that?
I don't think so, but no, I don't agree with you at all, no.
Okay, that's disappointing. Looks like we're not going to agree on very much, Alan, which is a shame. So why should we be out? What don't you like about Europe?
Well, first, before we had the European Union that was existing as it is, we traded with the world quite happily.
Right.
No problem at all. And we didn't sign up to the EU. What this country signed up for was a common market.
Okay, why should we be out? That's the question. Why should we be out? Forget history. What's happening now that you don't like, that you want us to get out for?
What I want to get out for is because we have France and Germany, in particular Germany, that he's having...
Yes.
I'm not anti-German.
No.
And that doesn't make me anti-Europe.
No.
Doesn't make me anti-trading with France.
No.
What I want are independent countries. I want France to be France with its franc. I want Germany with its Deutschmark, whatever the Pfennigs. I want the EU to be a trading partner without the intervention of bureaucrats and Brussels that are trying to dominate other governments, and in particular this one.
I asked this to Richard. I'm going to ask you, Alan. You're an intelligent man, so I know you'll be able to answer this where Richard couldn't. What laws have been passed by Europe that have affected you negatively?
Well, I think nothing specifically necessarily affects me as my personal life, except that for example, we have foreign murderers in this country who have murdered people over here.
What?
But are not deported because the European law say they can stay because they have the human rights of retaining their family.
Right.
But that's just one.
Where are these foreign murderers?
Why are you asking these strange questions?
Well, no, I'm trying to get... The thing is, without naming names...
Where are these murderers? What do you mean? How do I know where these murderers are?
Well, Alan, listen, you're giving me information that I am unaware of, and that I think could be based on myth, and I'm just trying to get the specifics.
Ian, I can't believe that you haven't read the papers or the news where murderers who have often illegally in this country...
Right. If they were illegally in this country, they would be deported.
They're not deported.
Illegal immigrants, if they are caught and captured, yes, they're deported. People claiming political asylum are not deported, and you'd agree that that's a good thing, wouldn't you?
Say that again, Ian?
That people who are here claiming political asylum or escaping persecution, we welcome those with open arms, don't we? Shouldn't we?
Well, that's if they are. That's actually if that is true.
Yes.
What they're saying, isn't it?
Yes. Yes, exactly.
And we know very well that the immigration department has completely bodged up everything, which is why we've got such a huge increase in immigration, because it's out of control. Because once again, the MPs and the people in power say, "Don't worry, vote for us. We'll do this, we'll do that," and in the end of the day, they don't do anything. They just simply completely
make a complete and utter mess of what they're doing.
Alan, it's been a pleasure sparring with you this morning. Thank you very much. 08459 455 555 08459 455 555. Give me a call. Do you agree with Alan? The reason I was being specific about those figures is because I hadn't seen those 80% of people are against being in Europe, and I wanted to kind of just find out exactly where they were from. It says it over here on my screen that the ICM poll said that 70% of voters want to vote on Britain's EU membership, which is different to 80% of the population want to be out of Europe. Now, if you've got those figures there, the 80%, if you can quote what paper it's from and what survey, 08459 455 555, because I would like to hear them and get a grip with them. This is Iain Lee filling in for Jonathan Vernon Smith, who's having a lovely time somewhere. Now, this is exciting. Next Monday, the Olympic torch concludes its journey across the 3 counties. After a very early start in Luton, the torch makes its way through Dunstable and onto Milton Keynes. It's then on to Bletchley, Buckingham and Winslow. After Whitchurch, the torch will make its way through Aylesbury, Stoke Mandeville and then on to Waddesdon. And we'll be there so you don't miss a thing. We are your Olympic station, BBC 3 Counties Radio. Now, the exciting thing for me is I'm going to be doing breakfast next week for a few weeks. Jonathan's back next week, so don't panic. But then I'm doing breakfast for a few weeks, taking over from the marvellous David Prever. And my first show on breakfast is watching the torch being carried around. How do people run with the torch? First of all, last night, right, I thought I was getting a little bit podgy, so last night I was in the house on my own. I thought I'm going to do some sit-ups and some press-ups. I did 10 sit-ups and 10 press-ups and was bathed in sweat and I was out of it. Seriously, I was totally out of it. So I'm thinking, I know they don't run far, but running with people watching you whilst holding a fiery torch, that's got to be exhausting, hasn't it? I'm looking forward to that. Do you know what? A while ago, I wasn't that keen on the Olympics. I was like, yeah, whatever. But as it's getting closer, I'm getting really caught up in the excitement of it. I'm really looking forward to seeing the torch. I'm going to try and get some tickets this afternoon for the Paralympics. Take my little boy along to have a look at that. It's all exciting times. This is Iain Lee filling in for JVS. 08459 455 555 is the telephone number. We've got Sid in Kimpton. Hello, Sid.
Oh, good morning.
Good morning, Sid.
Yeah.
What can I do for you? Do you think we should be in or out of the EU?
Well, personally, I would love to come out.
Why?
Well, because it wasn't what we was... when we were given a referendum back in the 70s.
When was it? About 71, 72?
Yeah, it was around that time. I know Heath was Prime Minister at the time, I believe. And, but it was for the common market that we signed up for.
Yeah.
We signed up for that, and lo and behold, mate, everything went pear-shaped.
But I love the phrase pear-shaped. Do you know where the phrase pear-shaped comes from?
Well, probably from the shape of a pear, I should think.
Well, it does. It's if you jumped out of an aeroplane with a parachute and the parachute didn't open, it would go pear-shaped.
Oh, yeah.
It's a war term. Anyway, so what has gone wrong? What in your eyes has gone wrong?
In my eyes, first of all, we gave up our fishing rights now, so therefore we lost the fishing industry. The EU budget is in the red every year.
Yep.
It's never been passed. Now, I ask you, if you belong to a club where you put in 50 quid a year, and every year you went there to get some money out, and there was 30% of it was gone, would you continue paying in?
Well, this is the thing that concerns me, is that we do pay, if only it were 50 quid a year, Sid. Wouldn't that be better?
That's just an analogy. Yeah. I'm talking more like 50 million a day.
Well, this is what... Again, I'd love someone to find out the statistics on this, and if I bothered to do any research on this topic, I would have that for you. But you're right. If you're paying in that much money, it just does seem a lot of money that we could be spending elsewhere.
And yet, as I say, we never have enough cash for arguments for free care for the elderly, where they have to sell their home.
Oh, tell me about that. I've had to do that for my mum, yeah.
We used to have 3 university places years ago.
Yep.
That doesn't occur anymore. Our armed forces, they're not treated particularly well when they come out of the forces.
Yep.
We see the cases where they've got a few new places, but generally speaking, it doesn't happen. And yet, as I say, and yet we're giving billions to Europe.
Sid, listen, thank you very much. 08459 455 555. You talk about old people having to sell their homes for care. My mum, she's not particularly old, but she's not very well, and we had to sell her home to pay for her care. She pays, get this, £1,300 a week. A week? Until her savings drop below £23,000. Absolutely incredible. But that's not what we're talking about today. We're talking about Europe. Do you want to be in or do you want to be out? This is Iain Lee filling in for Jonathan Vernon Smith.
On FM, AM and online at bbc.co.uk/3 counties. BBC 3 Counties Radio.
Good morning, it's the JVS show. I'm Iain Lee, standing in for Jonathan Vernon Smith, who's off on a swanky holiday somewhere. After 11, I'll be looking at your consumer problems and going back to speak to Emma. Now, Emma told us about her consumer problem involving a new phone line she had installed last December.
The engineers keep coming around and did a garden.
Normally, when they lay a cable, you know, they will put it down about a foot deep.
It's about half an inch low. You basically can lift a thing up with your finger.
I'm looking forward to this. I was in the car listening to this and thinking, oh, I hope I get to cover that story, and I do. Emma has been having problems with her phone line being dug up from her front garden as it's not been buried deep enough. She and her partner have been left for days without a phone. Now the company is saying that they might terminate Emma's contract as it's costing them too much to keep repairing and relaying the cable. What's happened? Well, we'll find out later. And after 10, I'll be asking, does dyslexia have to hold you back? Almost two-thirds of parents with dyslexic children say their child had to wait a year for help after being diagnosed. The charity Dyslexia Action carried out a survey which said 90% of teachers lacked awareness of the condition. It wants dyslexia training for all teachers and a national dyslexia and literacy strategy included in the government's special needs reforms. I'm going to be talking to Margaret from Bedford. Her son Richard has dyslexia and says if she hadn't known the right people at the right time, he could have been severely let down by the system. He's gone on to make a success of himself, and I'll be hearing his story and asking, does dyslexia have to hold you back? Would love to hear from you about that. But right now, it's back to the big phone-in. One of the Conservative Party's leading Eurosceptics, the former Defence Secretary Liam Fox, is to call for negotiations now on a looser relationship between Britain and the European Union. The Prime Minister will face further questions about his position on a referendum when he makes a statement over last week's EU summit. Over the weekend, the Prime Minister promised to consider being the operative word, holding a referendum on Europe at some point in the future. Previously, he'd always ruled it out. Well, a seeming change of heart from David Cameron, but has the issue always been clear-cut for you? Do you want to be in or out of the European Union? I was saying earlier, I don't think I know enough to vote a straight yes or a straight no. There are benefits and there are... I kind of think the economic migration, the workers travelling around Europe, that's got to be a good thing, hasn't it? Hasn't it? We get cheaper work over here. We're allowed to move over to other countries as well and seek work. Or is it a bad idea? Are you completely against that? Do you think that having all these workers from all around Europe coming over here and doing cheaper jobs, that is where the problem is? 08459 455 555. You can text me as well. I like reading texts. 81333. If you start your text 3CR. You can email using Jonathan's private email address, which I don't know if he knows I have access to. jvsshow@bbc.co.uk. We've got Petros Fassilous, is the chairman of the European Movement in the UK. Good morning, Petros.
Good morning, Ian.
What is the European Movement?
It's cross-party grassroots organisation that is trying to inform the debate around the benefits of EU membership. We're trying to counterbalance a little bit the myths and the lies that come from the tabloid press and make the case that the UK stands to benefit by being a member of the European Union.
I was kind of talking about this with some of the callers earlier on, that it does seem that a lot of our position on Europe comes from newspapers, and quite often you read these stories and you look deeper into the story and there isn't actually any substance to it. It's just this could happen, this may happen, but it hasn't happened.
This is indeed the fact. We do a lot of research on the stories that come out, and we often talk with the EU institutions, the government, and very rarely there is any remit at all on the claims made. And that's the unfortunate fact. I would love to have a constant debate around what it means to be a member of the European Union during local elections, national elections, and of course European elections. I would like the politicians to go out there and talk with the electorate, talk with the people and address the concerns they have. But unfortunately that never happens, and the debate only takes place on the front pages of tabloid papers. And we have seen what is going on with the Leverson inquiry, the kind of agenda tabloid press is pushing forward with.
OK, well, let's not get into that. Petros, give us... we've had some people phoning up today saying they want out of Europe. Give us the good points about being in Europe. Why does it benefit us?
First of all, it gives us the opportunity to be part of a market of 500 million customers. That generates thousands of jobs and millions in profit for British business. Also, it reduces legislation. When a British exporter wants to take his goods or her goods in Europe, he or she doesn't have to comply with 27 different sets of legislation. There is only one rule that applies across Europe, making it cheaper and easier to actually trade.
Well, listen, let me interrupt. We'll come back in a second. One of the callers earlier on said that we get more of our trade with other countries anyway, like China and America.
Of course, and China, America, India, Brazil have more interest to negotiate a deal that suits us when we sit across the table as 27 member states rather than just one. The EU just negotiated a trade deal with South Korea that is going to benefit UK businesses in the tune of hundreds of millions. And we wouldn't be able to achieve the same terms if we sat there as a market of 60 million. Now we're a market of 500 million. These people really want to trade with the whole of Europe, and they give us what we want because we are together and we are stronger together.
OK, the line's breaking up a bit. We'll stick with this a bit longer, Petros. Give us a couple of other benefits for us to be in Europe, in the EU.
Well, look around what's going on in Syria, in Iran. It's interesting to hear Mr. Haig, a Eurosceptic, actually praising what the EU is doing in those two countries. And again, Britain, Germany, France, on their own, they wouldn't have been able to put pressure on those regimes to do what is right. As a collection, as a club of nations, we can do much more on foreign policy to increase our status.
We haven't done much with Syria, have we? They're just ignoring everything we say.
Well, be assured that we wouldn't be anywhere if we were trying to put pressure on them individually. And we are in a position to exert that influence because we come together as a group. Our American friends want us very much to remain engaged in the European Union, not because they have any personal vested interest, but because they know that the EU is a stronger actor with Britain in it, and they can get more out of it.
OK, now, we haven't had this argument yet, but I have heard this elsewhere. We got all these Polish builders coming over here, nicking our jobs. Now, I don't particularly have a problem with that, because I think they do an excellent job and they charge a great rate. But how would you argue against that?
Well, I do believe that having an open market where labour can move around is a good thing. It gives us the opportunity to also go abroad and look for jobs when conditions over here are bad. As you also mentioned, it increases the quality of skills that come into the country.
Yep.
Proves competition. But it is true that we have to look into how employers remunerate those workers and making sure that they don't bring down the prices of labour to benefit themselves. There are issues there that we can address, but we cannot just chop an arm when it hurts you. You feel it. And immigration policy is a good thing.
We give the EU about 14.7 billion euros a year. That's a lot of money. That could be spent elsewhere, couldn't it, Petros? That could be spent better.
I'm not entirely sure where that figure comes from.
It's from the EU budget website.
The fact of the matter is that for every pound we put into the EU, we get as much out because very often that money creates jobs elsewhere, creates growth elsewhere, and people can buy our goods. It's also imperative to what I mentioned at the very beginning. The reduction in the cost of doing business across Europe generates income for British business.
Yep.
Being part of the European Union, having the European Union, makes doing business cheaper, and that's something we have to qualify and quantify when we calculate the cost and the benefits of being a member of the European Union.
Petros, listen, I'm going to thank you so much for your time. We're going to move because the line's not particularly good. Petros, can I ask, whereabouts are you from?
I am actually Greek, but I'm based in Britain and I work over here.
Τι κάνεις?
Πολύ καλά.
Δεν μιλάω ελληνικά. Petros, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bye-bye, there we go. That's all. I had Greek lessons for about 6 months. It is the hardest language in the world. It's so difficult with the gender changes. I learned Japanese. Japanese is much, much easier than Greek. 08459 455 555. We've got Anne in St Albans. Good morning, Anne.
Good morning.
What do you think about Europe? In or out?
Out.
Really?
Yes.
You're very definite on that.
Absolutely.
If there were a referendum, though, do you think that we know enough to make a reasoned, informed decision?
I do, because we live it every day. You were asking earlier on about legislation.
Yeah.
Well, immediately I can spring to mind all transport legislation in this country, all of it.
OK, give me a specific legislation that's affected you negatively.
Curbing drivers' hours on the road, for example.
Right. How has that affected you personally?
And different types of tachograph to the ones that used to have before.
Are you a truck driver?
You can't earn as much money. You can't earn as much money if you can't put the hours in.
But surely that's a safety thing, isn't it? Limiting we're talking about truck drivers, I'm assuming, are we?
I don't think it was particularly unsafe before. And there's no legislation to stop car drivers falling asleep at the wheel. You know, it doesn't make quite any common sense. What I'm trying to not get bogged down into that one piece of legislation, you've also got got doctor's hours.
Okay.
The change in doctor's hours, that has really adversely affected people.
Lowering doctors' hours.
Lowering doctor's hours.
But again, I don't want to see...
But not much cop for the patients.
But, Anne, I don't want to see an exhausted... I've got relatives who are doctors. They work very, very long hours. Even now, they work ridiculously long hours. That can't be good for them, can it?
Of course not. But the point is they've always done it, and the health service was a better place for it. I had a friend in hospital with thousands of patients, and there was one duty doctor on all night.
For thousands?
Do you see what I mean?
For thousands of patients?
When it was still going.
Okay.
I don't know how many patients there were in there. 1,000 maybe?
Can I just say, Anne, and this is not to have a go at you, but this is a few times this morning we have had figures that are seemingly plucked out, and I think if we are having a reasoned argument about it, we can't exaggerate and we can't make up figures. I think saying thousands of patients...
You can't keep putting people off by using that argument.
What, statistics?
Demanding proof that you want statistics.
Well, no, but you can't... No.
How many of us can actually turn around and say, I've got this to back it up, I'm answering...
Well, all I'm asking then, Anne...
I'm in an office conducting an interview.
And all I'm asking then is that you don't make up figures. That's all I'm... If you haven't...
figures up.
You said thousands of patients to one doctor, and then you said maybe 1,000.
If you said to me, how many patients does Lister Hospital hold? Can you give me half an hour while I go and ring up and ask?
I'm not asking... Anne, I'm not asking you to do that. I'm just saying if you don't know the figures... Please don't say them. That's all, because then it doesn't get us anywhere.
Many patients.
That's
Let's
better.
Put it that way.
Thank you. That's better. That's better. Thank you.
So those are just 2 points alone. They're trying to make us give up our pints. They're trying to make us walk in kilometres.
Oh, they're not making us give us up our pints. That's nonsense.
Yes, we've had this battle.
It's nonsense.
For years. Well, I don't know if
they're not going to give up pints.
To remember, but when the European Union, the Common Market first started, greengrocers were given cards with holes in them to pass the potatoes through the holes so that they'd get the right price. I mean, how ludicrous is that?
They're not going to make us give up pints. That's nonsense. And I have to go back to the doctors and the truck drivers. Surely anything that makes the world safer, and that includes making sure truck drivers don't drive too long so they're not exhausted, and the doctors work less hours so they can stay focused. That has to be a good thing, doesn't it?
And policemen stand at the side of a ditch watching somebody drown, and firemen won't go up trees to get cats down. That's the health and safety legislation.
I don't think firemen should be going up trees to get cats. They should be doing far more important jobs than that.
Well, they used to do it, and they've changed.
But the world is changing, Anne.
It's bad. The point is that they no longer can do it because
we evolve.
Health and safety.
We evolve, and health. People say health and safety is a bad thing. I think for them it does have some a bad rap, but I think for the most part, anything that makes our world safer, our roads and our hospitals safer, has got to be a good thing. Surely, you'd agree. It's being safer is a good thing, isn't it, Anne?
No.
Thanks very much for calling. This is Iain Lee filling in for Jonathan Vernon Smith. If you want to give us a call on Europe, we're talking about it for another 15 minutes. 08459 455 555. This is Iain Lee filling in for JVS on BBC Three Counties. Next Saturday, the Olympic torch finally gets to the Three Counties. As it makes its way from Waltham Cross to Hertford, we will be there. The torch also visits Ware and Bishop Stortford, and we'll be following it. We are your Olympic station, BBC Three Counties Radio. Now, we're talking about Europe. And so far, it would seem that the majority of you who've called in, not necessarily representative of the whole of the Three Counties area, but the majority of you are against us being Europe. And we have had a few calls saying, get us out. We have Petros, who wants us to stay in, but he kind of works for an organisation, so, you know, obviously he's going to be slightly biased. Is there anybody out there listening to this show right now? I could just end that sentence there, couldn't I? And would still be a valid question. Is there anybody out there who thinks it's a good idea that we are part of the EU and wants to stay in? 08459 455 555. Be really keen to speak to you. I kind of get the impression, through reading the newspapers and doing this and other phone-ins that I've done elsewhere, that the anti-EU people are a little bit more vocal. It seems that people who are anti things, and this is not criticism at all, it's just an observation, that people who are anti things are a bit louder and, you know, make a bit more noise than those people who are kind of for things. It's like, well, hey, I'm for EU, it's fine, let's just keep things as they are. If you are for the EU, 08459 455 555, or text 81333, start your text 3CR. We've got Kelvin Hopkins, who is the Labour MP for Luton North, and I believe you're a Eurosceptic, Kelvin.
Yes, indeed, and I have been for many years. I have to distinguish between Europe and the European Union.
Yes.
Europe is a wonderful place, full of lots of wonderful people, wonderful countries, but the European Union is a political construct which has been imposed upon the peoples of Europe, which is rather different.
Yes, I have been a little bit woolly with my terminology, and I apologise, but I know that most people know exactly what I'm saying. Why are you so against the EU?
Well, I think one has to look at what's been happening inside the Eurozone to realise that they've got to made a terrible mistake with their economic attempts to make it into one single country governed from Brussels. I think countries work much better when they have their own currencies. They can cooperate and they can work together in a very friendly way, but they have their own currencies, can adjust them and their interest rates to their own economic needs. And I think collectively then we'll all do much better.
But there are benefits of being in Europe, aren't there?
Well, I mean, obviously one is in Europe geographically, and we've always cooperated since the Second World War with other European countries, and I go there for my holidays every year. It's a wonderful place full of wonderful people. But, the European Union, as I say, is a construct, and there's so many things about it. First of all, the common fisheries policy is a disaster. It's seen the seas fished out. Only when countries can guard their own fish stocks will they actually get over that problem. So get at the common agricultural policy. They're very expensive, very inefficient way of dealing with farming. I think every country ought to be able to look at just to their own farming needs and subsidise where and as and when necessary.
Okay, let me give you a good thing about being in the EU. Last year, I had my house done up.
Yeah.
Had a loft conversion, new kitchen, everything. I got 3 quotes. 2 English companies, 1 Polish company.
Yeah.
The Polish company, it was about 2/3 of the price of the cheapest English quote, and they did a cracking job.
Well, that's no doubt very, very good for you.
Well, it's wonderful.
But we have to realise that there are 2.2 million people unemployed in Britain. The construction industry is in serious difficulty, and if we in a sense, we want to make sure that our own unemployed people have a crack at.
But then they should offer more reasonable quotes and a better attitude. I tell you, I was on another station when I did this, and I mentioned this on air, and I got a lot of criticism for not going with the English workers. So I thought, I'm going to do a compromise, okay? I needed a window built and I needed a floor laid. So I thought, I'm going to get 2 English companies in to do this. And I tell you what, Kelvin, I wish I hadn't. Both of those English companies, British companies, were awful. The window was 6 weeks late and was the wrong size.
Yeah.
The people laying the floor, they turned up at 10:30 in the morning, left at 3:30 the afternoon, so it took them 3 days to do the job that they could have done in 1 day. The Polish guys, they were there at 7:30 in the morning. Some nights they left at 7:30.
Well, that's very good, and bully for you. But
bully for me, indeed.
Arguing from the particulars to the general, the fact is that being in the EU, just the budget costs us many billions of pounds every year, despite the fact that we get some rebate because we don't benefit so much.
Yes, Thatcher sorted that out, didn't she?
Indeed, but
the UK correction.
There are always problems within countries. I mean, Poland has its own problems as well.
Yeah.
But poverty and low wages is a major problem there. But these are matters for particular governments. When it comes to the construction sector, I was very strongly in favour of local authority direct labour organisations, and many people in the industry thought that they ought to do work, the kind of private housing work you're talking about, and be publicly accountable and have quality control by the local authority publicly accountable. I mean, I thought that was a great idea. Labour was going to do it, in fact, in the 1970s. It was stopped by the Lib Dems and the Conservatives. But, that is the sort of thing we could look at. But that's not to do with, the generality of being in the European Union, which, as I say, the common fisheries policy, common agricultural policy, and the general economic arrangements, which I think are disastrous.
Should there be a referendum, Calvin?
Well, I think there will be. I belong to a group called People's Choice, which means we think the people of Britain ought to have a choice. A referendum, I would put a referendum down with certain key things, like the things I've mentioned. In fact, I've been told by officials from the European Union, if we voted to come out of the European fisheries policy, for example, common fisheries policy, they would expel us anyway. But,
So you're saying you'd have a referendum where you put down specific things that we could opt out of?
Well, that's one of the alternatives, isn't it? And I think
that would never work, would it?
Giving the in-out simply, there might be a campaign by party leaders and whatever to keep us in, as happened in 1975. But if we had specific things which we know are wrong and had votes on those, the EU would then have the choice: do they kick us out or not? If we look at Norway, look at Switzerland, look at a number of other countries outside the European Union, they're doing fairly well, and there's not a problem with them. And of course, across the world, there are all sorts of countries that have their own currencies, their own interest rates, and they do quite well.
Is part of our problem, Kelvin, the fact that we are called Great Britain? and that we still have this attitude that we're better than everyone else, and that we used to rule the world, we used to own America, for goodness sakes. Is that part of the problem that there's kind of like an arrogance about us?
I think in the past there has been that, but I think that has gone now. It's a question of whether we want to run our own economy and decide our own economic arrangements, and decide how we administer our fisheries, for example. It's a question of democracy, and I think that arrogance has now gone. We are not the same as we were, say, before the Falklands War, when we waved the flag and beat the Argies and all those things, which I think were very unpleasant at the time. That attitude. Yes. Standing up for people's freedoms is one thing, but actually, being arrogant about one's past and one's empire, I think is now very much something of the past. So I don't think that's what it's about. I think it's a sense of wanting to have one's country under one's own democratic control, governed by our government, which is elected, and we can kick out governments when we choose, if we don't like them. You can't do that with the European Commission. It goes on. There's a kind of core, which whatever happens in elections in different countries, that the Commission will go on governing permanently.
Kelvin, thank you very much. Kelvin Hopkins is the Labour MP for Luton North. He's a Eurosceptic. We've got Paul on the A1. Good morning, Paul.
Hello there.
You're against Europe, are you?
I'm against it in its current form.
Why?
Because I think we have to have a full gambit of legislation and set of rules with regards to Europe. I think one of the major problems is, yes, we've got immigration workers coming all over Europe into the UK, but what they are doing is abusing our welfare system. So
how are they doing that?
Well, they come in, they can actually claim child benefit, they can claim free health services, and these are people that aren't working. These are people who can actually just come into the country and actually use it. Now, those benefits aren't available in every other European country.
No.
If you had one set, obviously, then we'd have one set of common principles, one set of common rules, and obviously one set of common policies.
I wonder how, and I don't have the figures in, I don't expect you to have the figures in the slightest, but I wonder how many people are actually doing that and coming over here and just sponging off the system. It'd be interesting to find out. I've got no idea, and there must be figures somewhere, but it would be interesting to find out if it's as bad as we've been led to believe. Obviously, if there's anybody doing that, that's not good in the slightest, but I wonder quite how much it is costing us.
Yeah, I think the other side is, how many people are using the European Convention of Human Rights, and EU legislation to stay in this country. So we've just had the huge case of Abu Hamza.
Yep.
Our government cannot, the principal government, sovereign government of this country, cannot actually get rid of somebody who is a murderer, and it's not alleged that he is, and we can't actually get him out of the country because the court above us, which we haven't duly elected, actually decrees that...
Isn't Abu Hamza, is he not going now? I thought he was off. He was going.
Well, how much have we spent? That's millions and millions.
But is he going?
I think he is now.
Well, then it works then. I know it's taken a long time, but we have to...
This is the loophole, though, wasn't it?
But it was a loophole, but this is the beauty of Britain, I think, is that we do things by the book. We don't just go, right, sling him out. We follow the law, and that's got to be an example to set to the world, hasn't it?
But I think we followed our law, and our law was... we could have thrown him out 5 years ago, 6 years ago.
Yep.
What he did was he actually went to Europe and said, no, I want to stay in this country. Now, this is a guy who actually hates this country, hates our culture, our principles, everything. And we as a government, 6 years ago, wanted to throw him out, but he went to an unelected body that we didn't choose, and actually then said, no, I want to stay in a country that actually I want to act against. I want to spread hatred.
Paul, listen, I'm going to move on because we're running out of time. Excellent point, well made. Thank you very much for that. He has got a point there, I suppose. There are people in the country that we don't want, that don't like us, and that they can stay in somehow. Let's go to Marion. Good morning, Marion.
Good morning.
What can I do for you?
I've been avidly listening to your show, which I found terribly interesting. I'll just be very quick and
I take that as a compliment.
Yes.
Thank you.
What I object to most is that Parliament's hands are now very severely tied by Brussels and all their edicts, and I don't think that we should be controlled by them, and plus being asked to hoist up the Union flag outside 10 Downing Street. I just think that Brussels has far too much coverage of our parliamentary laws and stuff, and they alter it just to suit themselves. We didn't elect them to make laws for our parliament. Our parliament should be making our laws because that's who we voted for.
But we voted for our parliament to give them the responsibility to do what they thought was best for us. And if they think it's best for us to be in Europe, then we go along with that, didn't we? We voted for it.
No, we didn't.
Well, if we voted for
we promised a referendum on Europe, we never got it.
Do you know what? I don't think we're ever going to get one. I suspect...
I think they're just sitting on the fence on that one.
I suspect that Cameron has had a rough few months, and he's thrown out the EU referendum to make everyone go, oh, actually, maybe he's not such a bad guy.
No, I think that they're just being placatory to say we might have a referendum. We should have one because we voted for one.
Marion, listen, we're out of time. Thank you very much for calling. It's interesting. There's no right or wrong answer, is there? It turns out that the majority of the people who've called in would rather be out of Europe. I'm not sure. It's going to take a lot more looking into it to find out exactly what I think. This is Iain Lee, filling in for JVS. Coming up next, we've got the travel with Justin Peterson. Thank you very much for that. This is Iain Lee, filling in for JVS. In the next hour, we're going to be talking about dyslexia. How has dyslexia affected you? As if you know someone who's got it, do you have it? Has it held you back? And were you helped enough at school and at work? We'll be taking your calls on the subject after this. We'll also be discussing the important issue of beards. Are you discriminated against because you have a beard? Beards are in the press as a women's group, I think in France, is wearing beards to protest they're being unfairly treated. I'm giggling, dear listener, because I'm in a new studio and I keep going to do the wrong fader. And if I hit the fader I was aiming for, you would have heard something completely inappropriate. Good morning! It's the JVS show with me, Iain Lee, standing in for Jonathan Vernon Smith. After 11, I'll be looking at your consumer problems. And I'll be talking to Nikki. Nikki came to us with a consumer problem regarding a 3-year-old mattress.
This mattress which I purchased is sinking on the size 6 inches.
How much had you spent on this mattress?
£812, plus I extend warranty, £35, and on the mattresses it says 10-year guarantee.
So, is this fair wear and tear? What's happened to the mattress, and is it covered under the 10-year warranty? But in this hour of the programme, does dyslexia have to hold you back? A report says that almost 2/3 of parents with dyslexic children say they have to wait at least a year for help after being diagnosed. The charity Dyslexia Action says the results from parents suggest that 90% thought teachers lacked awareness of the condition. The government said early support for dyslexic pupils was vital. Now, if you or someone in your family has it, you'll know that getting support as quickly as possible is very important. I'm going to be joined in the studio by Maureen from Bedfordshire. Maureen's son is dyslexic and says if you hadn't known the right people at the right time, he could have been let down by the system. We'll hear her story in this hour of the programme.
On FM, AM and online at bbc.co.uk/3 counties. BBC 3 Counties Radio.
Good morning, this is Iain Lee. Sorry, I was just having a little natter there, filling in for JVS. That was a Steve Miller Band and The Joker. And I was having a little natter with our guest, Maureen, who's in the studio. Good morning, Maureen.
Good morning, Iain.
Now, Maureen is here because her son Richard has dyslexia. How old is Richard now?
He must be 37.
And when was he diagnosed?
When he was about between 9 and 10.
OK. And how did that... were you aware that there was some sort of problem going on?
We knew at the lower school, the infant school, that there was something wrong with Richard because I got to know his teacher quite well. So as he was going to move up to the middle school, I also knew the teacher that was head of the first year. So I'd spoke to her about our concerns about Richard.
Yeah.
And she sort of was ready for him and picked him out, and he was one of the lucky ones. But I know there was lots of children that weren't as lucky as Richard and didn't get the help they needed.
So at what age did you kind of think there's something not quite right here?
When he started school.
Yeah. And how did it show itself? What was
with spellings and things? We would go through the spellings at the weekend, but come the Monday morning, he didn't know them again. He couldn't write them down. He had problems reading, and as much as we helped him, he just wasn't getting anywhere.
And was it with numbers as well? Because dyslexia can affect numbers.
No.
It's just the letters.
Reading and short-term memory.
This is one of the fascinating things about dyslexia, is that it has so many different kind of aspects, and people can have a bit of it and not all of it, or and different degrees of it. And did he know that something was wrong when he was younger? Was he getting frustrated or upset?
I don't think so. He was quite a happy child. It was when he went to the middle school, I think, that he started to really get problems because he stood out from the rest.
Yeah.
He used to have extra lessons where he was taken out of school and taken to another school. And used to spend the afternoon there with them. But once he'd gone to the senior school, he didn't get any help. He was... he really had lost interest in school by then, just given up.
I think that I've heard this story from other people as well, that's kind of part of the problem, that that they just kind of think, well, what's the point? I can't keep up with this. I'm going to, go off in my mind somewhere. What was the extra schooling he was getting in the middle school when he was being taken to this other school?
He was taken to another school and just... reading and writing English and things like that to help him,
And were they doing it... how were they doing it? Were they using special techniques, or were they just doing the really basic Janet and John kind of thing?
I think it was just the basic Janet and John.
Right.
Yeah.
And then he went to another school?
He went to the what do you call it, the upper school.
Yeah.
He didn't get any help at all there.
See, that's amazing.
So Richard had given up. He just went through the motions of going to school but didn't really learn very much after that. He left school with no qualifications. But in between time, he'd started work as a Saturday boy for a friend who had a barber shop in town. And when he left school, he decided that's what he was going to do. He wanted to be a barber. So he had day release at Barnfield College. And at the end of the year, they had a competition, against each other. And Richard won the competition.
A barber's competition?
Yeah, hairdressing competition.
OK.
And then that qualified him for another competition with another college. And then he went on to win all these competitions. So he began to think, well, he must be quite good at this.
Yeah.
He then ended up in Blackpool in the national finals and come third.
That's not bad, is it?
No, that's very good. We were extremely proud of him.
Did he get a trophy for that? What did he win?
Yeah, I think he got a medal or trophy. I'm sure he's still got it. He'll probably tell you himself when you speak to him.
Yeah.
He then decided, after working in Bedford for 2 or 3 years, that he wanted to move to London.
Yeah.
He started off working in Richmond and then moved on to Mayfair. When he used to come home, he used to speak about what he wanted to do, and he wanted to buy his own place and then have his own business. And we thought, yes, OK, Richard, it'd be lovely if it happens, but we couldn't see it.
Whatever, be realistic, son, come on.
And he did. He started his own business 7-8 years ago. He's now got, I think, 8 people working for him.
Wow.
He's semi-retired.
He's what, sorry?
Semi-retired.
How old is he?
37. He travels the world. He goes on lots of courses.
Just through cutting hair and other bits and pieces? He's made that much money?
Well, it's not really
It's not just... No,
it's not really that. He just enjoys life.
Well done,
He's
him.
in a position where he doesn't have to work 9 till 5.
Fantastic.
And he can do what he likes.
When... you must have been frustrated when he was at the school and was getting no extra attention.
We were.
Did you go up and kick a fuss, or...?
We did. We used to go and have meetings, but it soon used to go back to square one, really. Never got anywhere.
And why what did the school say was their reason for not helping him more?
In the end, I think he got the attitude he didn't want to learn.
Right.
So it was down to Richard in the end.
Right. And one of the problems is that a lot of teachers, I think it's something like 90% of teachers don't know how to cope with someone who's dyslexic. They don't know what to do. And it must be frustrating. Obviously, what happened to Richard in that school was not helpful. But it must be frustrating for the teachers who don't have the adequate training. They see someone there who's kind of falling behind and not being able to keep up. Yeah. And it must be hard work for the teachers as well to give them...
Well, yeah, it was hard work. But you must remember this was 20 years ago.
Yeah.
Things have changed, I would think, or hope things have changed a lot since then, and the children get more help than we did with Richard. But I think they all find their own way in life. They find something they're good at, and if they're lucky enough, like Richard, to make something of their life.
Well, if you're listening to this now and you've got a child who's at school or has been at school and is dyslexic, 08459 455 555. It'd be great to find out if your child or you yourself, are getting the help and assistance that you need from the school. Have schools come on in the 20 years since Richard was there? Are they giving you the help that you need to succeed? It's interesting you were saying what you said there, Maureen, because I think that people who are disadvantaged in the way that dyslexia disadvantages you, they quite often become more creative and artistic. And hairdressing, of course, is artistic.
Yeah. Yeah, that's quite true. I mean, a lot of the time Richard was bullied, so he sort of shied away from things, and that's why he didn't bother, I suppose. He didn't want to make a fool of himself.
We're going to speak to Richard in a few minutes. Are you OK with that?
Yes, I'm fine.
Is he a good boy?
He's a lovely boy.
Are you sure?
I'm positive.
I'm nearly 40 and my mum told me off the other weekend.
He's my little soldier.
That's what my mum calls me. My little soldier. I go, Mum, for goodness sakes. He's going to be so embarrassed you said that. We will speak to Richard in just a few seconds. This is Iain Lee filling in for JVS, who's off on a well-deserved break. And I've got to say, I've been listening to his show the past month or so. And they are big, very shiny shoes to fill, and hopefully I'm doing my best. If you want to give us a call, we're talking about dyslexia in this hour. If it's affected you in any way, maybe it's you, maybe it's a child that you've got, 08459 455 555. Does dyslexia have to hold you back? We've got Maureen from Bedfordshire. Good morning, Maureen. Good morning, Maureen.
Good morning, Ian.
That's easy for you to say. We're talking about your son, Richard, who is a very successful hairdresser.
Yeah.
He's semi-retired. He's your little soldier.
That's right.
Richard, do you mind being called your mum's little soldier?
Of course I do. It presses all my buttons.
Oh, bless you. Now, Richard, you've been listening to... You got your headphones on, Maureen, you OK? Can you hear him? You've been listening to your mum. She's a good mum, isn't she?
She's amazing, yeah.
She's done you proud. What was it... Do you remember when you realised that there was something, in inverted commas, slightly different about you, and that you weren't getting letters as quickly as the other kids?
It was very obvious for me because when I was in the classroom, everyone else would get it, get what they were teaching, and I didn't.
And did you think you were stupid, or...?
Totally, yeah. Totally. The feelings what come from that, of self-loathing, no self-esteem, and feeling thick.
Yep.
Right from a young age, you're conditioned, because obviously I started school at 5, so my conditioning of that started very young.
Wow. And did any of the teachers, this was 20 years ago, so a whole lifetime ago, did any of the teachers, say stop being thick, stop being stupid?
Well, what actually happened is quite interesting, because over the period now, I've realised what's actually happened. And what it was where I couldn't actually get what they were teaching me, because I don't learn from a textbook.
Yeah.
And what actually happened was I started to get frustrated. So my learning difficulties were masked by bad behaviour.
Okay, yeah.
So where I couldn't learn and I was at the bottom of the set and everyone else was getting it, and I was just getting increasingly frustrated that I couldn't get it, and it come out in bad behaviour.
So the teachers kind of thought you were more of a naughty boy, perhaps, than there was an issue?
Yeah, and lazy, and not being able to get it, and not understanding, and, I wasn't willing to... But I struggled to understand how they were teaching me. I couldn't get it.
Your mum was saying that when you were younger, you would get taken out for a day or two a week to a separate school to have kind of extra tuition. What did they... how did that work? What did they do in those extra sessions?
Well, basically, it's very interesting, because what actually happened, that was really helpful to me, and I had a really good rapport with the teacher, and her name was Miss Sullivan, and I really remember that. And she took me out, and she basically gave me one-to-one tuition and helped me understand how to break down words.
Yeah.
And she really gave me sort of a lot of belief that I could do things and so on, and I found that really powerful. That was one afternoon for 2 hours a week.
And that's fantastic that you're getting that one-on-one tuition. I would be surprised if it happens at the moment, with classes getting bigger and teachers being more and more strained. Maureen, you must have been worried for Richard that maybe that was it. Maybe his life was just going to be him not really paying attention, not focusing, not doing anything.
Well, we didn't know what was going to happen to him, really. We didn't know what job he was going to do. We just didn't know where it was going to end. We could see him going down the wrong path at times and had to pull him in line.
Yes.
But apart from that, he wasn't really a bad lad. We didn't have many problems with him.
Richard, Maureen, stay there. We're going to speak to you more and find out more about exactly what happened and how Richard has become a success. And he's semi-retired at the age of 36. I need to find out how this works. We'll find out all and more after Diana Ross and Why Do Fools Fall in Love. Now, very exciting. Next Sunday... The Olympic torch continues its journey across the three counties. It's an early start in Bedford as it makes its way onto Cotton End and then to Letchworth Garden City. From Stevenage, it goes on to Welwyn Garden City in Hatfield. After St Albans, it travels through Hemel Hempstead and on to Luton. And every step of the way, we will be there. We are your Olympic station, BBC Three Counties Radio. And when I'm filling in for breakfast for a few weeks, and my first job is on Monday, watching the torch be carried by. I'm quite nervous. I'm nervous because it's an outside broadcast. It's an important thing. There's going to be a lot of people there, and I don't want to mess it up. In this hour, we're talking about dyslexia. Does it have to hold you back? If you've got any stories relating to this, do give me a call, 08459 455 555. I've got Maureen from Bedfordshire. Good morning, Maureen.
Good morning, Ian.
And I have to say that you smile absolutely delightful this morning.
Thank you.
You smell absolutely charming. And we've got your son, Richard. Good morning, Richard.
Good morning.
There we go. Now, Richard, is there a scale for dyslexia, Richard, like 1 to 10 or something? Or how is it qualified?
To be honest with you, I'm not too sure.
Right.
But I've started to go to join a sort of a group called the Dyslexic Entrepreneurs.
Okay.
And recently, and that's quite interesting. But the reality is a lot of people have just found out now.
Yeah.
That in adult life, in work, and yeah. But mine was obvious, obvious that it happened as soon as I started to learn. So I would guess my scale of dyslexia is very high.
And so in your later school years, there was no extra tuition, nothing to help you or anything like that?
No, not really. There was sixth formers who would take me out, but they weren't trained to give me. They were just doing it to experience. No trained professionals giving me help.
Okay, and you did you resented that? I guess.
Well, do you know what? I shut down.
Yeah.
Because once you get put in all the bottom sets and you believe that you're told you're no good or you're thick or you're disruptive, you start to believe that. But the defining factor was, for me, is when I was leaving school, one of my deputy headmaster at the time told me I'd go nowhere.
Really?
And,
wow.
I was a disgrace and I'd
That's
go
helpful,
nowhere.
isn't it?
Well, to be honest with you, that is one of my biggest whys in life, what motivates me.
Yeah. Because of that, because of him saying, listen, son, you ain't going to get nowhere. So you kind of set out to prove him wrong.
100%.
Fantastic. I had a teacher who said the very same thing to me. I wanted to be an actor, and she said, "You'll never get into drama school. You're no good. Why don't you go and work at the Mars factory, which was near where I used to live?" I soon showed her wrong. And then how did you get into hairdressing? I'm calling it barbering, but I know that hairdressers don't like to be called barbers, do you?
Well, I'm actually retired barber now. I'm an entrepreneur now.
Man alive! You made me say you're 36 years old.
Yeah.
And you've retired.
Yeah, well, I've retired from my job, my career, which was barbering.
Yeah.
And I'm an entrepreneur, so I've got business, and I have people that run that business, and I generate an income from that business.
Fantastic.
Which means that I don't have a job.
So what do you do with your life, Richard?
At the moment, my business is called Pall Mall Barbers.
Yeah.
And basically it's based in the West End of London. And at the moment I'm just working on, sort of business development.
Yep.
And working on a product line, which is shaving range, and, learning new skills.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And are you still getting help? How is your reading now? How does that work? Can you read, or is it always going to be there? Do you have tricks that you use to get around things?
Yeah, well, what I actually do now, reading, the problem I have with reading is it takes so much of my brain power and energy to read. People used to say I was lazy, but actually it's just because it takes so much focus for me to read something and takes so long, I feel very drained and I fall asleep. So, what I tend to do now is what I've worked to do is actually employ people to do that for me.
You employ a reader?
Well, people who I can outsource stuff to.
I totally love your style, Richard. I totally love your style. I think you're fantastic.
Being dyslexic, what happens is you generate tools, which you become used to, because you can't do things. You have to find solutions.
Yeah.
So therefore, you're always solution orientated to get around problems.
Well, you, I don't know if you've got kids or anything. I was just saying to your mum, I've got a little boy, he's 2.5 years old, and I'm already terrified about what his life is going to be like. And it's given me so much more respect for my parents, being a parent now. Were you aware, when you were younger, of the concern that your mum had for you?
Yeah, I guess I always was, and I had concern for myself as well. Because, you know, you're in that situation, and obviously I had brothers and sisters, and I think it was all about what I was going to do, and how they were going to look after me and so on. But yeah, I managed to, my dad gave me some words of wisdom about getting the trade, and following that through, and I did.
Listen, people always need haircuts. They're always going to need that. And the dyslexics that you meet now, are a lot of them sort of more creative people, would you say, or is that a bit of a myth?
100%. Yeah, there's lots of different dyslexias, type of dyslexias, but the people who, like Richard Branson, for example, I read his autobiography, and he gave me great inspiration because I share his terror of reading out loud and so on. But he's got vision. We're very visual people. And, so we can look at things and find solutions, and we have a totally different look on life. We're not analytical, or at least I'm not.
I find it fascinating. Richard, stay there. We'll talk to you a little bit more after the news, if that's okay. Maureen, are you okay to stick around for a little bit? I'm finding this fascinating. If you've got a story, if you're affected by dyslexia in any way whatsoever, then give us a call, 08459 455 555. I've been lucky that I've been able to read from a young age, and it just makes you aware of what a gift it is. Be interesting to find out how things have changed in schools as well. We'll be talking to Richard and Maureen after this.
On FM, AM and online at bbc.co.uk/3 counties. BBC Three Counties Radio.
This is Iain Lee filling in for Jonathan Vernon-Smith. It's only for a week. Don't worry. We'll get there in the end. We're talking about dyslexia. How does dyslexia affect you? 08459 455 555. We'll speak to you after the Beatles. Oh, I like them. Man, I love them. Can you believe some people don't like the Beatles? What is that all about? This is Iain Lee filling in for Jonathan Vernon-Smith. We were speaking to Maureen from Bedfordshire, whose son Richard is dyslexic, but he's 36 years old, and he's now a successful businessman, successful entrepreneur. And you were telling me he jets off all around the world at the drop of a hat. He goes. You're there. Sorry, Richard has gone. Richard, thank you very much for taking part. We've got a few calls. Are you okay to chat to a couple of callers? Is that okay?
Fine.
Let's go to Claire. Hello, Claire.
Hello.
Whereabouts are you calling from, Claire?
Houghton Regis.
Houghton Regis. And are you dyslexic, Claire?
I am, yes, I am.
How has it affected you?
Right, well, actually, I can span the generations.
Okay. Oh, okay.
I'm 40. Yes, I'm dyslexic. Similar to Richard. Didn't get very far at school.
Yeah.
Eventually left school with 2 or 3 O-levels. I then studied again with my mum's help at home.
Yeah.
I got enough to get into nursing, and I'm eventually qualified as a midwife.
Fantastic. What did you get any help at school at all?
I went into remedial reading, but otherwise, no. We had to do it all privately.
Really? I really want to speak. If anyone's listening now who's got a kid at school, 08459 Oh, you have? I'll stop reading out that phone number then, Claire. Then so.
Jump half a generation to my sister.
Yep.
She came out of school at middle school, and my mum home educated her because history was repeating itself.
She was dyslexic as well?
Yeah.
Wow.
And so after she went back in, you said Barnfield College earlier.
Yep.
She went into Barnfield College at 14, into catering, got all her qualifications there. Got it to quite a level, and then decided no, that wasn't what she wanted to do.
Yeah.
She became a nurse.
Oh my goodness!
She's qualified as a nurse.
So we've got 2 nurses in the family,
but only because we've had my mum behind us as an advocate.
Yeah.
You talk about someone doing your writing for you. We would try and read something. She'd then read it for us. We'd process it in our brain, and then we'd tell her what we wanted to write. She'd write it all down, and then we'd put it into the computer.
Isn't that interesting?
So we have this person in the background doing it all for us, but it was your work through them.
Yeah, and that was allowed?
Yes.
Okay.
because it was your work.
Yeah.
It was just through something. And in fact, if you went into an exam, you would have not your mum, but somebody else who did that for you.
Oh, imagine taking your mum into an exam, Claire. That would be awful.
Yes.
I can't think of anything worse, having my mum sat next to me. But you would have someone else. You'd have another party would come and...
Well, the idea is then they can't bias it at all.
Yeah.
They can't give you any knowledge.
Yeah.
Only what you tell them goes onto the paper.
Isn't that incredible?
So then you asked a few minutes ago, Richard, whether there are levels of dyslexia. Yes, there are.
There are, okay, like a spectrum.
Level A means you're not dyslexic at all. Level E means you're severely dyslexic and can't read and probably do numbers.
Is that not the cruelest twist of fate, to level it, have it with letters for a dyslexic system? That doesn't seem particularly fair.
Well, that's the way it works. But that's what it is. I've now got 2 children.
Yeah.
Well, I've got 4, but 2 who are dyslexic so far. One who's 12 and one who's 10. And we started the whole cycle again. The help through the school is very limited. You have to be 4 years behind in every subject to gain a statementing.
What's statementing? What does that mean?
That means you get somebody who will come alongside you and...
That's called, okay.
Do extra hours.
But you have to be 4 years behind everyone else?
Yes. And I'm sorry, by then you've given up.
Well, yeah, of course, that's incredible. Surely, at the first whiff of a problem, you should be given...
4 years behind.
Wow.
And it's a long way. So when mine started to slip, I got 2 years behind, I realised there was a problem. I've now had them privately tested.
Yeah.
And because they have the report, the school now have to do something.
Okay.
So they are now getting some special help.
Yeah.
It's half an hour a week,
Yeah.
but it's something. But they also now are qualified for a reader and writer in exam situations and things like that.
Is it... I'm surprised that so many in your family have dyslexia. Have the doctors or experts given you any explanation as to why this is? It's not genetic, is it?
They don't know. But if you go up a couple of generations, we have people who dropped out of school without being able to read and write. They were classified as slow learners or such like, and then have gone into trade professions and they've gone a long way in their trade, but they've never been academics.
Maureen, you've got other children?
Yeah, no problem with any of the others.
No problem at all. No. And any other dyslexics in your family at all?
No, not that we know of, no.
That's why there's a problem. Our family, there seems to be generations of them.
Right.
Other families, there's not, and they can't pick up the link.
I'd never heard of that before. That's fascinating. And so you got 4 kids. 2 of them have been diagnosed with dyslexia. The other 2, they seem to be doing all right so far.
They're only 8 and 4, so we'll find out.
And the 2 older kids, are you going to home tutor them? Are you going to carry on that tradition?
If necessary.
Yeah.
The difficulty is because I'm dyslexic.
Oh, there we go. Yeah, of course. I see the problem.
Yeah.
Oh, Claire. Well, listen, thank you very much for giving us a call, and best of luck to your kids. I hope, it will turn out properly. Of course, everything will turn out fine.
And in the same way as it has for me and my sister, we've got where we needed to go. It just took us longer.
Yeah, of course.
And we needed that one-to-one person along the way. If you have to pay for it, that's what you do.
Claire, thank you very much. I'm fascinated by that. A whole family that has dyslexia. It does seem incredible. Let's go to Judith. Hello, Judith.
Oh, hello.
Judith in Stopsley. You're dyslexic.
Yes.
Has it held you back?
Not really, no. Well, I never had a job that was really interesting. I always had sort of boring jobs.
Yeah.
But, I was doing a course when I was 36 is when I found out, and they said at the college that they think I was dyslexic. They said, have you ever been told you're dyslexic? And I always wondered why I couldn't do things like other people. I always felt there was something wrong, but I couldn't put my finger on it. But like reading, I would read a word that wasn't there or miss something out, and the writing used to run into each other. But now I'm computer literate. My husband taught me how to use a computer. That has helped my spelling and writing letters.
The writing used to run into each other.
It moved, I don't know, it sounds funny, but the writing never used to sort of. Sometimes the words would go into each other. Put it that way.
It is fascinating, because I'm trying to imagine what you would see, and it's the same thing as trying to imagine colour blindness. You just can't imagine what you're seeing.
Words out, and then when I was at school, I mean, I'm 68 now, but it's a long time ago, the teacher would get delight in me standing up in front of the class, reading out, and then she'd say, "You've missed a word out," or "What, that word's not in there." And I was always classed as lazy and, what's the word? Couldn't concentrate, lack of concentration.
I suppose. So you're 68, did you say, Judith? So I don't even know when dyslexia was.
I never heard of it in those days.
was discovered. We got someone coming on from the Dyslexia Action charity. We'll ask them maybe in a minute. But you must have. That's so cruel, getting you to stand up and read in front of everyone for a laugh.
Yeah, well, I didn't have to actually done it for a laugh, but I just felt embarrassed about it, because, well, they would laugh, the others, obviously, but I come from a school that had larger classes anyway, so there must have been quite a few who felt the same.
We've got, stay there, Judith, we've got Kevin Geeson, who's from the charity Dyslexia Action. Good morning, Kevin. Kevin, oh no, you're on there. Hello, Kevin.
Hello.
You're on that fader, sorry. When was dyslexia, I want to say discovered, first, acknowledged?
I think during the last century, it became more and more known.
Yeah.
So probably, I think there are some reports, if you go back far enough, it was in the 1800s or even earlier than that. But really properly taken seriously, I suppose, in our education system for the last 40 years, probably best.
Because we're hearing, people being told that they were lazy. I remember a kid at school who, looking back, was obviously dyslexic, but was told he was stupid.
Mm-hmm.
We've moved on a long way since then, haven't we? Tell me we have, please.
Yes and no, I think is fair to say. I mean, I think one, if you like, the battle to get recognition of dyslexia has been won in the majority of places, accept that dyslexia exists. Unfortunately, not everywhere, but the majority of places do exist. And it's covered under the Disabilities Discrimination Act, or the Equalities Act these days, which is a really good step forward. And there's lots of great practice in our schools in terms of supporting kids with who struggle with dyslexia or literacy more generally. However, there are still far too many cases where the likes of what you just described are still happening in our school system. And a lot of that's really around the training of teachers who just don't understand what, the needs of the kids in front of them.
How many teachers, you may not have these figures, how many teachers are trained in dealing with dyslexia?
I don't know, but there was a Rose Review that was in 2009, and that provided funding for more specialist teachers, and I think as a result of that, around 3,000 people have been trained in dyslexia and similar. But unfortunately, there isn't someone in every school, and a lot of the specialist support services that local authorities provided, with all the changes that are going on in education, some of those are being disbanded, which means where schools used to look to the local authority for support on things like dyslexia, there's no one there to look to anymore.
It must lift you hearing the stories. I don't know if you heard Maureen, who's here with us, her son Richard, who was dyslexic, didn't get much help, kind of rebelled against the system, and then a teacher said, "You're going nowhere, mate." And he took that as the impetus. He's now got a successful business. He's swanning all over the world. That must do you good to hear things like that.
Oh yeah, it's fantastic. I mean, there's like all things in life, there's two sides to everything. And I think it's fair to say that part of dyslexia is around people struggling to read and learn in the way that schools have traditionally taught people through reading and writing. However, that doesn't mean that people with dyslexia don't have strengths in and of themselves. Yeah. Clearly, Maureen's son does. And quite often there are lots of examples of people who tend to be more creative, and therefore can be successful if given opportunities around their dyslexia.
Maureen, I think what Kevin and I are both angling for is a free haircut and a free shave from Richard. Is that? Can you do that for us?
Well, you better get in touch with Richard for that, but I'm sure he'll sort something out.
I'm sure, hopefully he can sort something out. And Kevin, so very quickly, what does your charity do, Dyslexia Action?
Well, we do three things. We do a lot of work with individuals, so children predominantly, but also adults, around helping them work out strategies around that, around living with their dyslexia, which they have to do for the whole of their life. We also do some what we call capacity building, which is helping. So we do teacher training, and we train other people so that they can help people with dyslexia better in their work. And also, as you would have seen from the report that we published last week, Dyslexia Still Matters, we do research and campaigning on behalf of people with dyslexia, particularly the education system, and more so on behalf of adults as well who are getting stuff.
Kevin, it's lovely to talk to you. Keep fighting the fight, and maybe we'll speak to you again soon at some point.
Okay, thanks very much.
Thanks a lot. Bye-bye. This is Iain Lee, filling in for Jonathan Vernon Smith on BBC Three Counties Radio. More of your calls. We'll speak to, another Richard after this. This is Iain Lee, filling in for JVS on BBC Three Counties Radio. I'm here all week. It's only a week. Don't panic. He'll be back next week, and then I'm filling in for breakfast for a few weeks as well, which I'm looking forward to. I have to get up, Maureen, for when I do the breakfast show, 4:15 in the morning.
Oh, God.
Oh, my goodness. I'm an old man now. I can't do that. So, well, I'll have to, otherwise I'll be in terrible trouble. Maureen is joining me. She is from Bedfordshire. Her son Richard is dyslexic. He's 36 years old. He's now a successful entrepreneur. He sounds very confident as well. Was he always so confident when he was younger?
No, he had no confidence at all. I think being ridiculed at school, knocked all his confidence. So,
kids are vicious. I mean, kids are vicious. Listen, I was bullied, and I did a bit of bullying, I'm ashamed to say. And kids look for anything that's a little bit different, a little bit weak, and they kind of hone in on it. So something as obvious as not being able to read, I imagine he would have had a right old tough time.
Yeah, he did. It was really upsetting. He didn't want to go to school, and we had lots of problems. But
that must have been heartbreaking for you.
It was.
As a mum.
It was, especially starting new schools and not knowing what to expect and knowing it was going to start all over again.
If you're listening, get a pen and paper, because we're going to give out the phone number for Dyslexia Action a little bit later on, before the end of before 11 o'clock. So go and get a pen and paper, and we will give that out. We've got another Richard on the line. Richard's in Milton Keynes. Good morning, Richard.
Hello, Iain.
You've got dyslexia as well, have you?
I have, yes.
I'd be interested to know what percentage of the population has it, because every time that this is mentioned, a lot of people call in. How badly do you have it, Richard?
Well, I was just recently diagnosed through my work with dyslexia, but...
How old are you, if you don't mind me asking?
I'm 35.
Right.
My mum fought tirelessly when I was younger to try and find it out, but the only problem with it was back then, there wasn't the awareness of it like there is now. I don't seem to think there was anyway.
No.
I had extra tuition at home. I was in the bottom, obviously, group at school, and I was seen by a child psychologist back then, and they said to me that I'd just become just below average back then. But I was seen by work recently, and I was diagnosed with it. And all of these measures were put into place for me.
Yeah.
And nothing's still been done because they can't seem to find out where the funding's going to come from.
So you're kind of stuck.
Yeah. And it's actually quite hard for me to come on the radio. I'm shaking like a leaf. It's actually quite hard for me to come on here because my confidence, I haven't got much confidence.
Really?
I feel like it's held me back, definitely, in my job. I've been in my job at the moment for 10 years.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's held me back, definitely.
And so, but you only found out recently you were dyslexic?
No, I've always known.
Right.
Always known.
It's only been diagnosed recently, though.
My coping strategies have kicked in. I just tend to get on with it, do you know what I mean? I just tend to do what I need to do, and I've really struggled.
You don't know where I'm speechless here, because you think that it is. I don't know if it's classed as a disability, but it certainly.
It is now classed as a disability.
It is classed as that now, is it?
Yeah, it is classed as a disability.
Well, we see how the disabled people are getting treated with all the cutbacks and stuff at the moment. So
the problem with a lot of people is it's because you can't see it.
Yeah.
It's just not a disability. Obviously, you can't see. Then people don't know how to deal with it, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. So you do hear of people at universities and schools and things who get like a laptop. I've got a friend of mine who's a dyslexic, Eloise, and she got given a laptop at university that she was allowed to keep afterwards to kind of help her just make life a little bit easier. And you're getting nothing at all.
Well, no. I had the British Dyslexic Association come and do a full assessment on me.
Yeah.
Through access to work, and then basically what's happening now is they've put these measures into place. Like they said, I need a laptop with additional IT software on there, that I can carry a digital dictaphone, that I can also carry a digital notebook, and also I was going to also get 10 2-hour sessions with a dyslexic specialist. All these things are put in place.
Yeah.
It's stopped now because they don't know where the money's going to come from for the funding.
Yeah. And you say it affects your confidence.
Yes.
You don't sound nervous now. You're doing a great job, Richard.
I am quite nervous, though. I am sort of pacing about and shaking slightly.
It's funny you do that. I've phoned up talk shows before as a punter, and I get nervous. Have you got the shaky leg?
I have, yes.
I get the shaky leg, Richard. I get that. I think that might be quite normal. But does your lack of confidence, does it affect you in other areas?
Well, no, I do believe that I'm quite, practically, I was because when I left school, I trained to be a chef.
Yeah.
And I did that first of all. So practically, I'm very good at doing stuff like photography. So if I could it's just taking that leap. I'd love to leave my job that I'm in now and have my own photography business. But it's just literally taking that step to do it, because I feel that my photo, because I've done a few weddings and christenings and stuff.
Yeah.
And I've been very pleased with what I've produced, but it's just taking that final step to do it, and I think that's where the dyslexia kicks in.
Richard, listen, thank you very much. I wish you the best of luck, and I hope you make a success of whatever it is you choose to do. We've got time for one more quick caller. We've got Steve in Letchworth. Hello, Steve. Hello, Steve. Hello, Steve. Steve has disappeared. Steve has disappeared. Maybe he got the shaky leg as well. Well, there we go. Maureen, thank you so much for coming in.
That's okay.
How often do you see your boy?
Not as often as I'd like to.
Come on, Richard, if you're still listening.
Mother's Day, Father's Day.
It's not good enough.
Christmas.
Does he still... He doesn't still bring his washing home, does he?
Oh, no, he used to. He used to come with a sack full.
That's one of the best things about when moving out, is that you can... Mum, come over and have a Sunday roast. OK, Mum, can I bring some washing with me? Turning up with 3 or 4 black bags of washing. That's what it's all about.
Well, Richard only comes home to eat junk, you see, because he's a health freak. So when he comes home and he has his roast dinners...
Is he one of those health obsessives?
Mm.
I don't know if you heard earlier on, I did 10 press-ups and 10 sit-ups last night. I was exhausted. I was bathed in sweat and I was huffing and puffing. Luckily there was no one in the house to see me look like a complete and utter idiot. Well, listen, best of luck to him. I shall be in touch about that free haircut that you have promised us, which is all very, very nice. Oh, the dyslexia... hang on a second. Richard?
Hello.
Oh, it's that Richard. Hello, Richard.
Hey, how are you?
I'm fine. When can I pop in for a free haircut and a shave?
Well, you just let me know and come and visit. Make an appointment online.
Yeah.
And we'll sort you out.
Brilliant. You're a good lad. Come and visit your mum more, please. Visit your mother more, Richard. Please, Richard. Listen.
I do speak to her quite a bit to make up for my absence.
Okay, that's good. Richard, listen, best of luck. Thank you very much for talking to us. I'll speak to you soon. Take care.
No problem.
The Dyslexia Action office number is 0207 730 8890. I'll give that out again just after 11 o'clock in case you missed it. Maureen, thank you so much for coming in. Take care, lots of love. It's Kelly Clarkson. Kelly Clarkson, Dark Side, coming up after 11. We're going to have more of your consumer problems. I'm very excited to hear all about Nikki and her bed. Good morning, this is Iain Lee, filling in for Jonathan Vernon Smith, who's off on a holiday somewhere nice and warm. Maybe we should give him a call this week and see if we can rouse him out of his sleep. In this hour, between now and 12, I'm going to be looking at your consumer problems, and if you've got an issue that you'd like us to look at, get in touch with the team. I'll give the phone number in a bit. Oh, and I'll give out that dyslexia phone number a bit later on as well, as I said I would. Today, there's going to be an update for Emma. Emma told us about her consumer problem involving a new phone line that she'd had installed last December.
The engineers keep coming around and did a guard up.
Normally, when they lay a cable, they will put it down about a foot deep.
It's about half an inch low. You can lift a thing up with your finger.
Emma's been having problems with her phone line being dug up from her front garden as it's not been buried deep enough. She and her partner have been left for days without a phone, and now the company is saying they might terminate Emma's contract as it's costing them too much to keep repairing and relaying the cable. I'll also be talking to Nikki. Nikki came to us with her consumer problem regarding a 3-year-old mattress.
This mattress which I purchased is sinking on the size 6 inches.
How much had you spent on this mattress?
£812, plus I extend warranty £35, and on the mattresses it says 10-year guarantee.
So is this fair wear and tear? What's happened to the mattress, and is it covered under the 10-year warranty? And if you've got a consumer problem that you think we can help with, you can still give us a call. Even though Jonathan's not here, we can still do this. 08459 455 555. That's the phone number. If something's happened to you, you're not happy with something, give us a call. You'll speak to either me or Ben, and maybe you'll come on air, and we will do our best to sort it out for you. 08459 455 555. We're going to be finding out all those stories and more after this.
On FM, AM and online at bbc.co.uk/3 counties. BBC Three Counties Radio.
Oh, it's Barry White. I'm feeling sexy. Good morning, this is Iain Lee, filling in for Jonathan Vernon-Smith. Now, from next Friday afternoon through to the Monday morning, we're taking BBC Three Counties on the road. We'll be broadcasting all of our programmes live from the centre of the Love Luton 2012 Festival, with reporters following the Olympic torch every step of the way through the three counties. Come down to Wardown Park in Luton and you can challenge Justin Dealey's Jukebox or help JVS celebrate the torch arriving in Luton. We are your Olympic station, BBC Three Counties Radio. Oh, and also in this hour, Nick Coffer's popping in because his show starts at 12. Now, yes, I know, it's everything's on the move slightly. Don't panic. It's all for your benefit. We know what we're doing. He's going to pop in maybe in about 10, 15 minutes and let us know what's going on. Until then, this is the Consumer Hour on the JVS show with me, Iain Lee. Give us a call if you have a consumer problem you think we can help you with. 08459 455 555. Now, on the line, we should have Roger. Roger, tell me about your consumer problem without mentioning any names or company details, please.
Okay, and we bought the car, from the auction, and we paid just over £9,500.
Yes.
And within a month, the clutch plate went.
Right.
And the car has only got 33,000 on the clock.
Yeah.
So obviously, I took it to the dealers and got the repair done.
Yeah.
And that cost me £906 and 26 pence.
Yeah. How much? Sorry.
Sorry.
How much did it cost you?
£906 and 26 pence.
26 pence, okay. That's, yeah.
So I've been waiting for, I was told it'll be covered by the warranty. So, I've been waiting 3 months now and nothing. Every time I ring them, they keep, passing the buck to a different person.
Okay. So you had this fixed 3 months ago?
3 months ago, yeah. It was in February.
And again, I don't want to hear any names or places because I don't want to get sued. I don't want you to get sued, Roger. Did you you taken it back to the place you bought it from?
No, that was the auction.
Okay, so you bought it in an auction.
Yeah.
And it came with a warranty.
That's right. Yeah.
How long was the warranty for?
The warranty was for 60,000 miles.
60,000 miles. So there wasn't a length of time or anything attached to it. It wasn't a 3-month warranty or anything. It was a 60,000 warranty.
60,000 miles.
And you have taken it to a garage.
Yeah.
Not connected with the auction house at all.
No.
And they have fixed it for you, and it has cost you £906 and 26 pence.
That's right. Yeah.
And you've been in touch with the warranty people.
Yeah.
And how have you contacted them? Has it been phone calls, letters, emails?
Them.
You emailed them?
Yeah.
And the emails they definitely say they will cover the cost?
They will cover the cost, yeah.
Well, then what's the problem?
I don't know. Every time I've been ringing, but the last email I got was they were asking for the bank account number, so, we send all that.
Yeah.
That was over a month ago.
Right. So they've got all of the details of how to pay the money in...
Everything's there.
...to your account.
Yeah.
They've just not paid in the £906 and, indeed, the 26 pence.
That's right.
Well, and these emails definitely say you are covered by the warranty, we are going to give you this amount of money.
It does, yeah.
Well, then what's the problem? Why are they dragging their heels?
I don't know. Every time I ring, there'll be a different person. The voicemail, so, obviously I'll put my, the case number and, they know who's calling, obviously, and there'll be different person.
Whenever did you say you had to leave voicemails for them?
Well, the voicemail, and then the person will come and talk to the person. Wouldn't be the same person I've been talking to.
This is the frustrating thing about dealing with these companies, is when you say, can I speak to Steve? Oh no, Steve's not here. Well, I've been speaking to Steve about the whole thing so far. Why can't I speak to Steve? And you have to start, I've had this with companies, where you have to start again from the very beginning.
Exactly.
Roger, I feel your frustration. I suspect this is something we can possibly have. I'm going to go to my expert, with a very small E, Ben. Hello, Ben.
Hello.
Ben, you've heard this story from Roger. What can we do?
Well, I think what we need to do is just stick a call into this company and just see what the problem is. It may be a clerical error, rather. We don't know what's going on at this stage, so let's put a call into this company, chase this up, and see if we can get Roger a result.
I noticed this about you, Ben, when I listened to Jonathan doing this show. You're very generous. It may be a clerical error.
Well, I think, I'm one of these people that's quite positive, and I think, I always try to see at least that light in someone first.
You are totally giving everyone the benefit of the doubt.
And surely that's fair, isn't it?
You're right, it is fair. You're the voice of fairness in my sea of not being fair. Roger, does that sound okay?
That sounds...
So we'll give them a call today, and we will see what the situation is, and we'll find out what the latest is, and we'll get back to you.
All right, sir. Thanks so much.
Thank you very much, Roger. Thank you very much, Ben. We may come back to you a little bit later on. Now, I'm joined in the studio by Emma. Emma told us about her consumer problem involving a new phone line.
What's happened is we had this phone line fitted in last December. The engineers keep coming around and did a garden up.
Normally, when they lay a cable, they will put it down about a foot deep.
It's about half an inch low. You basically can lift a thing up with your finger.
Now, Emma has been having problems with her phone line being dug up from her front garden as it's not been buried deep enough. She and her partner have been left for days without a phone, and now the company is saying they might terminate Emma's contract as it's costing them too much to keep repairing and relaying the cable. Is this true, Emma?
Yeah, that's correct, yeah.
So, again, I don't want to hear any names, no pack drill.
That's fine, I understand that, yeah.
Good. So, what, did they phone you up? Did they email you?
They've actually had a phone call with my lady. She basically says something about they're going to come down and put it in. But every time they put it in, the line keeps getting put in, and we get disconnected up again, connected back up again. This is stupid.
The thing I couldn't understand, I did listen to Jonathan talking to you about this, and he was as amazed as I was. How is the line getting damaged? Is it Yobs coming and doing it?
I don't know who someone maliciously doing it. Every time it keeps happening, it keeps coming at the end of my garden. So what's happening is being right next to his neighbour's garden. Yeah. And someone basically keeps going top of the garden and maliciously cutting the line.
Wow.
Yeah.
And you've got no idea who's doing that?
No, honestly, I've got clues doing it.
See, that sounds incredible. And just remind us, how deep was the line buried?
About that deep?
That's about half a centimetre.
Yeah, basically,
you're displaying there.
Yeah.
And that sounds incredible, and I heard the show that you came on, and lots of people phoning up saying that's kind of the way that these things...
There's nothing we keep getting. Obviously, I had a phone call, knock at the door the other day from the police, keep knocking on our door, saying that someone keeps making phone calls on our line, but every time we keep making phone calls on our line's being disconnected.
Someone is tapping into your phone line?
I'm ringing the police. I'm ringing the fire brigade, ambulance. I'm ringing the undertakers up on my landline.
And saying what?
Something about someone's being stabbed up or something like that.
What?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Do you have any enemies?
No.
There's no one you could think of that could be...
No.
Because that's a mystery, isn't it?
It is a mystery, yeah.
And you've not seen anyone loitering or eyeing up your cable or anything like that?
No.
Okay. I'm intrigued by this.
It's a bit strange, isn't it?
It's very strange, Emma. I'm a little bit concerned about you, that someone will be doing this to you. It is not a very nice thing to be doing. Have you asked the company, the cable company, to put the cable a foot down, 2 foot down?
I've even asked them that, and their answer is if you want it done properly, you have to pay £350 to put the cable in, and £149 to put the ducting in if you want it done to your standard.
But it's costing them money every time they come and fix it.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
And they're saying, it's costing us so much money when we might not come and fix it anymore. Surely it would have been cheaper in the first place if they just come and dug a cable, laid it in the cable, laid it in the trench.
Yeah, that's what I mean. We got a piping under the ground, and we said before to put it in, to put the cable under the ducting in the first place. Yeah. But they wouldn't do that.
Okay, I'm intrigued by this. I'm going to speak to Ben. I don't know if Ben can give me... I'm only doing it just because I'm very, very new at this, and I don't want to do anything that's going to get me into trouble. Ben, I don't know if you heard that the company that are responsible for the cable are saying they might possibly terminate Emma's contract.
Really? Okay.
Because of it's costing them too much to keep repairing and relaying the cable. I would think, surely, just dig a trench and then it won't cost you anything.
Well... I suppose so, yeah. I mean, it's. I guess we'll have to go back to the company.
You're going to give them the benefit of the doubt now, are you?
Well, we just need to find out more about these reasonings, and particularly, as always, you've always got to look at those terms and conditions.
Yes, of course.
And the devil's in the detail. So.
Now, I just want to get a few of the formalities cleared up here. Am I in charge of this case?
You are, yeah. Oh, man. You're the man.
Am I phoning this company up today?
You will be, yeah. You're going to be chasing it up and finding out what is going on here.
Thank you very much, Ben. Well, there you heard it, Emma. I'm going to be making a phone call after the show today to this company.
Right, okay.
And I'm going to see exactly whether this threat to withdraw your contract is legitimate,
right.
And let's see if we can move any further with this, because it just sounds it sounds like you're being treated very unfairly.
It is
about this situation.
We basically keep getting charged for bills we haven't even. Obviously, what they're trying to do is they're trying to charge us for service we haven't got as well.
Right, of course, you haven't got that. How long are you out? Is the phone or the internet off?
About a couple of weeks, couple of days.
It's no good.
No, it's not, no.
Emma, listen, I'm glad I got this one, because I want to do my best. This is the story last week that really jumped out at me, and I'm going to give them a call this afternoon, and we're going to see what we can do.
Well, thank you, Ian.
Thank you very much for coming in. This is Iain Lee, filling in for Jonathan Vernon Smith on BBC Three Counties.
Thank you.
This is Iain Lee, filling in for JVS on BBC Three Counties Radio, and I'm getting there. I reckon by the end of my run at breakfast, I will know what buttons do what and what faders do what. I'm joined by Nick Coffer. Good morning, Nick.
If you're saying you don't know what buttons do what, I think it's sounding brilliant.
Really?
Yeah.
It is. It's like a duck paddling on a pond, but my legs are going like crazy, and also I'm looking at it. It's nothing like a duck paddling on a pond.
No,
I'm looking at it.
And they're
frazzled.
very, very long legs to go paddling.
Do you like the way I've got them wrapped around my chair like this? I find it very relaxing. Now, Nick, you're starting at 12 now.
I am. Am I?
Did no one tell you? Did you not get the email?
It would appear so.
You're starting at 12.
Yep. Beds, Hearts and Bucks live entertainment stories as ever. The show moves to an hour early. You get an hour extra of Rob every day as well, but the show stays very much the same. We've got a corking guest for you in the first hour. Do you know Jack Thorne? He wasn't meant to put you on the spot there.
Okay.
He wrote This Is England and Skins, which I used to love on Channel 4 as well. He now lives in Luton, rather interestingly. So he'll be coming to talk about his life as a prolific writer, not only for TV but theatre and books as well. Chris Thomas runs a music shop in Woburn Sands. Is coming in to talk about his music scene. Jeff Achtem, he's actually from Canada, bending the rules slightly for once, because it's always Beds, Hearts and Bucks, but he is playing at the Tringe this week.
Okay.
The Tringe, and he is a genius shadow puppeteer, and we're looking ahead to Black Beauty in Woburn, which starts tonight.
I'll have some of that. Do we get... I don't know, it's BBC, isn't it? Do we get free tickets for things like that?
Should we have that conversation off air?
Thank you very much, Nick Coffer. Lovely to see you, sir. Thank you. Nick will be on at midday, so stick around for that. It's definitely worth a listen. Meanwhile, back to your consumer affairs that I'm doing my best to deal with, and I'm treading very carefully because this can be a legal minefield. So if I'm being a little bit hesitant, I know Jonathan just steams through everything because he doesn't care. But I'm only here for a week. I don't want to get sued, all right? So that's why I'm treading very carefully. So thank you for being patient with me. Now, Nikki came to us with her consumer problem regarding a 3-year-old mattress.
This mattress is sinking on the size, 6 inches.
How much had you spent on this mattress?
£812, plus I extend warranty, £35, and on the mattresses it says 10-year guarantee. I telephoned, the man came, he took a photograph of the mattress, and 4 days later, he says to me that the mattress is not being treated properly. That's why it's hung down.
So, is this fair wear and tear? What's happened to the mattress, and is it covered under the 10-year warranty? Well, Nikki's on the line. Good morning, Nikki.
Yes, good morning, Ian.
How are you?
I'm fine, thank you.
Can I ask you a cheeky question?
Yes.
How am I doing filling in for Jonathan? Oh.
What happened is I received the letter, yeah?
OK, we're going to go straight into this. OK, that's fine. I take your silence to mean I'm doing excellently, thank you. So what's the latest? You've received a letter.
Yes, don't phone me on Friday if it's all right, a bit on the radio today. I say yes.
Okay.
And an hour later, a letter came.
Okay.
I opened the letter and it says in the letter that, please, we tried contact you, but we couldn't over the telephone.
Okay.
Please, can you telephone us? I telephoned them and they arranged another engineer to take photograph, and they said to me the day is the 11th.
Yes, okay, so what's happened here is I've been coordinating with the company involved here.
Yeah.
And what they've said is that a technician, the initial person they sent out. So they've already sent out one person to have a look at this mattress to check the extent of the damage.
Yes.
They say that they believe that this dipping has been caused as a result of the customer's son sitting on the edge of the bed. And they say that the reason he's come to this conclusion is because the base, which wasn't purchased at the same time as the mattress, but that base has developed a similar issue in the same area.
Now, Nicky, your son was a big lad, wasn't he?
Yeah, he is a big lad, yes.
But
that's why he bought this mattress, more expensive and more orthopedic and more heavy deep to last longer.
You would think... How old is the mattress?
Only 3 years
3 years. You would think, Ben, that an expensive 800 and whatever it was pound mattress could withstand a lad sitting on the edge of it.
He's not sitting on the edge. I said to them over the phone 3 times because I phoned them 3 times and say, I'm sorry, you have to do something about it. My son is not sitting on the edge of the mattress.
Now,
So I got a chair for him there and I took him in my bedroom and I said, look up, can you come and see my mattress? I said, memory mattress from the same shop, I said, and I got it for 7 years, 2 people sleeping on the mattress and it's perfect.
Nicky, 1 second, let Ben come in. Ben.
The issue here is that what they're seeing is in the base and the mattress, in both parts of that, there is sagging and bulging, what they're saying. And the trouble is, mattresses aren't designed to be sat on one edge. They're saying that the design of the mattress is to be laid on. And so they're saying that in this case, it appears that, the conclusion the first technician has come to is that it has been sat on the edge. However, in order to resolve the matter, as you mentioned there, Nicky, they're happy to offer a second opinion from a different technician to go and have a look at that.
Yes, that's why he's coming on the 11th, yeah?
So he's coming on the 11th,
Yes.
is that right?
Yes, he's giving me the date.
Yep. And so another technician's going to come and have a look.
Yeah.
And is this an independent technician, Ben, or is
This will be a second technician from the company.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because you can sit on the edge of beds. People have been sitting on the edge of beds for years, haven't they, Nicky?
Yeah, because I said to the shop when I purchased, he says to me, yes, you can sit 5-10 minutes, but no more than 10 minutes. And that's fair enough. And this is what my son's been doing. I got him a nice chair, he sits on the chair, and he doesn't sit on the edge of the bed.
The issue is that the evidence doesn't point to that. That's what the company is saying at the minute, from what the technician's seen initially.
I think what we need to do, Nicky, is I think we need to let the second technician come and have a look on the 11th, and when he's been, we'll give you a call. And we'll find out what the verdict is from that. I think we have to wait till that. Is that okay?
Wait till that, I think, that's the best.
All right, so don't panic, don't fret. Let's see what the second guy says.
Yes.
And then we'll have another little chat.
Yes, we will. Thank you ever so much, Mr. Ian.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ian. There we go. That's the way I want to be addressed for the rest of the show. This is Ian Lee, filling in for JVS. More of your calls after Take That. Take That, Greatest Day. This is Ian Lee, filling in for Jonathan Vernon Smith, just for the week. He's back next week. If you want to give us a call with a consumer problem, 08459 455 555. Come on the air, and maybe we can help. Maybe we can sort it out for you. I'm enjoying this hour a lot. Hope you are too. We're going to speak to Rebecca about her mobile phone after this.
On FM, AM and online at bbc.co.uk/3 counties. BBC 3 Counties Radio.
This is Ian Lee, filling in for Jonathan Vernon Smith. I'm joined by Rebecca, who's come to the consumer programme with a problem. Now, Rebecca, don't mention any company names. I don't want to know the mobile phone model. I don't want to know nothing. Okay, so being as vague as you can, tell us your specific story.
Due for an upgrade.
Yep.
Contacted the mobile phone company.
Yes.
And obviously they said, yes, fine. You can either go into a store.
Yep.
As long as you call us whilst you're in a store, we can upgrade it that way. Alternatively, we can post it.
Yep.
I was just going shopping anyway, so went into a store, called whilst in the store to upgrade, as I'd said. 2 days later, hated the phone. Absolutely hated it. Called their customer service team.
Yeah.
They said, sorry, you upgraded in the store, so you don't have 7 days grace.
No, so they'd said that if you'd done it on the phone and they delivered it to you, you would have had 7 days grace.
Yes, but they didn't say that to me at any point before I actually upgraded.
Right.
That was not stated.
Oh, if you just put that down. They didn't say that to you. You went into the store, but you phoned them up from the store.
Quite, yes.
So that would surely count as the phone call for the upgrade, wouldn't it?
You'd assume so. So, again, not happy, still not happy. I then contacted them again on the Monday.
Yeah.
2 20-minute conversations later.
Yeah.
Still nothing. I then emailed a complaint, of which they replied to the email with, okay, very sorry that you're unhappy, you can return the phone. I emailed back, said, okay, fantastic, packaging, how do I send it back to you? Immediately they then emailed again saying, sorry, 7 days only works if your telephone had been sent to you, not in the store.
But they'd sent an email saying you could return the phone?
Yes.
And now they're saying, actually, no, you can't return the phone.
Yeah. I even contacted the store that I went into to do the upgrade, and again they said, probably can't do anything for you, but we'll try and call you back. They still haven't called me back.
You've kept that email, obviously.
I have.
That's got to be your ace in the pack, hasn't it? Ben, surely if there's an email saying you can return it, then, you might want to put those headphones on so you can hear what Ben's saying, because he speaks a lot of truth.
Oh, thank you. You've built me up quite a bit.
I know.
Well, yeah, we'll have to see the email and have a look at it, take that to the company and see what's going on there. But if an email states that they're going to do something, then you'd hope that a company would fulfil on that. However, we'll have to have a look at it and check everything.
Now, I think the 7 days grace, because I was looking this up, and I think that if you do buy things over the phone, and don't quote me on this, but I think if you do buy things over the phone, whatever it is, you do generally have 7 days grace.
Yes, it's distance selling laws. So if I think if you get something, for example, if you get it by mail order, so you haven't physically picked it up, had a look at it yourself in a store and bought it there. So, for example, if you're buying from a catalogue online, things like that, you do have a grace period with which you can return it.
However, but that doesn't apply in stores?
That doesn't apply in stores. There are individual company policies that set up. They say maybe on the back of your receipt it'll say you have 28 days to have a look at it, return it in a resaleable condition. However, that is down to the discretion of retailers. So
I've taken things, electronic goods, back to stores 2 or 3 days later on because it wasn't what I wanted. It didn't do what I wanted it to do.
Well, as I said, there are exceptions. There are companies that allow it. It's all kind of company policy rather than a law in any sense like that.
What about the fact that Rebecca phoned the company from the store? Does that to get the upgrade, does that not count towards the 7 days grace?
Well, this may be where we're getting into kind of, as always, these things aren't clear. You have to work out what exactly is going on here. So I think with a bit more investigation, if we have a chat with the mobile phone company, see what's going on here, and we'll go from there, I think, just to clear up, particularly this email.
This is the thing, I think, that's... Yeah, Rebecca, is that okay? We'll have a little chat with them later on today. If you can give us that email, because I think that is going to be the bit. If they have said, if what you said is true and they've said, okay, yeah, you can return it, then that surely has to stand up. And I think it would be churlish of them to then go, actually, we didn't mean that, that was a mistake, that came from the wrong department.
Sure.
Do you trust us with it?
Most certainly.
Rebecca, it's lovely to meet you. Thank you very much. Ben, thank you for your help. OK, we're going to have more of your... Oh, we're going to have an update in a little bit. Let me just play this first. That's Queen and Radio Gaga. This is Iain Lee. If you've just tuned in, go, whoa, hang on a second. Where is Jonathan Vernon Smith? Well, he's off somewhere sunning himself for the week. Don't panic, dear listener, it's just a week. He will be back next Monday, and then next Monday I start doing The Breakfast for a few weeks, which should be a lot of fun. But I'm enjoying this moment. I genuinely love the Consumer Hour. I think it's one of the greatest bits of radio just going around at the moment. I find it very exciting. I like wrongdoers being outed and things being sorted. If you want us to help you this week with a consumer problem, then you can still get in touch. Even though Jonathan's not here, you can get in touch, and either me or Ben will look after it, and then I will hand it over to Jonathan next week, so don't worry. The phone number is 08459 455 555. 08459 455 555. Or you can email jvsshow@bbc.co.uk. And I've got to be honest, I'm very impressed with Jonathan's hit rate. More often than not, he does very well, doesn't he? He does an excellent job at sorting things out, and he pushes it as far as he can push it. And sometimes, you're not going to get any satisfaction, but he pushes it as far as he can. And I hopefully this week I'll be able to do as much for you as I can. 08459 455 555 if you want to take part in the Consumer Hour. Now, we've got an update. Saeed boarded a last-minute flight to Pakistan due to a family emergency. He paid nearly £1,100 for the ticket.
It was a 2-day trip, so on the way back, my flight was cancelled due to poor weather conditions, and so I had to take an alternative flight. I put in for a refund, and after about 7-8 weeks, they managed to send me £46
What did they offer you instead? Did they offer to get you on the next available flight?
Which was, 3 days after, but I had to come back the same day, so I took another airline.
Shahid now cannot get hold of the airline to question the £46 refund. Shahid, you're on the line. Good morning, Shahid.
Hi, good morning.
Let me just remind you, don't say any company names. Whereabouts in Pakistan were you?
It's actually Kashmir, but they don't have the airport, so it has to be Pakistan.
Okay. And we've got Ben has been dealing with this. Ben.
Yes.
Just to recap and tell us exactly where we are with this situation.
Well, yes, we were coordinating with the travel agent initially on this, because, Shahid, you said they'd only offered you £46.10 in terms of a refund.
And the ticket cost £1,100?
The total ticket,
right,
in terms of both ways.
Okay.
And this involved a stopover, so it was, in essence, 4 flights.
Okay, right.
Now, we've been talking to the travel agent. They said they've done all they can do. Their hands are tied by what they're told by the airline. They suggested we speak to the airline directly, which we did. And in this case, the airline are Turkish Airlines. Now,
you've just mentioned a company name there, Ben. Are you sure you know what you're doing?
I do, yes.
Okay.
It's all good. Now, Shahid's ticket it was only used one way. So from London to Islamabad, it's when he was trying to get back,
right,
where the flight had to be cancelled. Now, they've said that his ticket restriction allows him to receive a refund of £287.50.
Oh, hang on.
Minus the £46.10, which has already been refunded. So the total refund should be given to him of £241.40. Which is good news. However,
that's not bad.
They've told us that this travel agent actually hadn't been in contact with them regarding this problem. They say if they had, every help would have been extended to them. And in this case, it appears they simply refunded the £46.10 of unused taxes, and that was all that had been offered in refund thus far. So they actually hadn't had a conversation with the airline.
The travel agent had said that they had spoken to the airline, and the airline went, well, we didn't hear anything from them.
Absolutely, yeah. But the airline have said, yeah, absolutely, we're going to get on top of this, because obviously this needs to be sorted very quickly. As they say, as far as Turkish Airlines is concerned, we are now going to issue what they call an agency credit memo, an ACM, for his ticketing agent.
The old ACM, I see,
yes. Yeah. And ask them to refund this £241.40 to Shahid directly. They've also got in contact with the travel agents, and they will contact Shahid very shortly to settle this matter without any more delay. Now, Shahid, have they got in contact with you?
No, they haven't, no.
Right. Well, I think we're going to have to talk to this travel agent and cover a couple of things. One, what's going on with the refund? This needs to be sorted as soon as possible. But also, why are the airlines saying that they haven't spoken to them? That's very
Why
strange.
would a company do that, Ben? Is it laziness? Is it they just can't be bothered? They wouldn't be profiting from it, would they, financially?
Well, I wouldn't want to speculate at this time.
No.
I think we need to have a bit more kind of...
benefit of the doubt, well done.
Absolutely. I think we need to go back to the company and just find out what's going on here. Because if they're saying they've spoken to the airline and they actually haven't, then that could be very serious. So we need to find out what exactly is going on here.
How long ago did all this take place, Shahid?
The flight cancellation was on the 30, or actually it's 1st of April, actually.
Okay, so it's quite a while, so he should get the money pretty quickly, shouldn't he, Ben?
Well, we would hope. In terms of that total, Shahid, are you happy with the total there? I mean, including the £46.10, that's a refund of £287, 50p as well. But are you happy with that refund?
Well, I mean, surely I was thinking of like a halfway range, like about 5, because normally the ticket is to Pakistan return is about £500, but because there was an emergency, I had to pay double the price, which is 11. So surely I was thinking of a range of about £500 or £600, but I mean £300, well, around £300 is better than 46. So.
Well, okay. I mean, what I can do is I can go back to the airline and say, can we just ask how this figure was come to? Find out if £287 is fair. Obviously, are you questioning that, Shahid? And if you've paid £1,000, then half of that.
Can I ask, Shahid, was the ticket was more expensive because you did it at short notice? Is that?
I think so. Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Because normally a return ticket is about £500 or £600.
Right.
But I did have to pay another £350 for another ticket from Pakistan to come back to England.
So he's out of pocket, Ben. If I would have thought that half. I mean, fair play. The airline have issued a refund, and that's fantastic.
Yeah.
But yes, I think it would be useful if you could find out how that has worked out.
I must stress that the airline were very keen to get this sorted, so I'll get back in contact with them and I'll see what we can do. And if you can send me over maybe some of the details of this additional ticket you've got, Shahid, I can put that to them and say, look, this is what it cost him. Wouldn't it be be fair to just meet him at what it cost him to get back home. And we'll see what the airlines say.
Sahid, thank you very much. No doubt we'll be speaking to you shortly. Ben, thank you for that. Yep, there we go. We'll get back in touch with the airline. But I think fair play for offering some refund. I'm curious to find out what's going on with that travel agent. Very curious. I know Howard Reid. He's a very, very nice man, and it's a superb act. And Nick Coffer's on at 12 today. Don't forget that Nick Coffer will be on at 12 o'clock in the slight little reshuffle that is taking place in terms of the times. This is Iain Lee filling in for Jonathan Vernon Smith. Now, Maureen told us that she had ordered some electronic cigarettes to help her cut down on her smoking.
When I ordered them and they came, I found that they charged me for them because unfortunately I gave them my card details, which I wish I hadn't now.
Yeah, but you'd ordered them, so why wouldn't they charge you for them?
Well, they were supposed to be free for 14 days. All they said was they only wanted a penny off my card.
So they've taken the money. How much money have they taken from you?
$26.90.
Maureen says that she sent back the cigarettes before the end of the 14-day free trial period as she didn't get on with them. Despite being told that the company were putting in a request for a refund, she's not received her money back. Now, Maureen's on the line. Good morning, Maureen.
Oh, morning, Iain. You're doing a great job.
Thank you very much. I think I'm getting by. I think I'm just getting by. Now...
They actually charged me twice, Iain. I had two charges because they sent me some filters as well, and I'm told by Jonathan that they charge you for them anyway, but he sorted that out as well.
OK, so where are we? You were waiting...
well, thanks to Jonathan, I got my first sort of money back, and then he tried again, and he's now got me the second lot back.
And is the money in your bank account?
It is.
So you've got it all?
I've got it all.
Oh, well, that's a success. Maureen, I was all worried there. I'm looking around frantically for Jonathan's horn, but I suspect he may have taken it on holiday with him. Who knows what he gets up to when he's abroad?
Well,
that's wonderful, because I've been hearing you phoning in, and I thought this one is never going to get sorted out. But he did it, did he?
Yeah, he's absolutely fantastic, because I kept trying, and I just was, getting nowhere, you know. He said they gave him grey hairs, the company.
Well, I can't begin to speculate on the condition of Jonathan's hair colours. So that's it. It's all sorted and you're completely happy?
I'm completely happy, and it's put my mind at rest because I was although I'd written into them, I was still worried they might take more money from me, you know.
It can be stressful. Maureen, can I ask, are you still smoking? Oh, come on, give it up, love. You don't need it. Give it up.
Yeah,
well, there you go, Maureen. Listen, if I had access to the horn, I would be playing it for you now. I don't, I'm afraid. But let's just imagine one together, shall we?
Yeah, we will, because I'm really grateful to Jonathan and the team. You do a wonderful job there.
I'm going to send Jonathan an email. When he comes back next week, he's going to play his horn just for you. Okay?
It's absolutely great, because it was just, you just felt as if you were knocking your head against a brick wall, and you were getting frustrated, and he obviously did all the right things.
He's good as our Jonathan. Yeah. Maureen, thank you very much. It's a pleasure to hear from you. I'm glad it's a success as well. Now, we've got time for one more, I think. A few months ago, Leisha had a sewage problem in a housing association flat. The toilet was blocked. We've all been there. It's not fun, is it? She tried to sort it out, but had to call the housing association.
They sent out a drainage person to come and try and unblock it. He actually made the problem worse, where it started to flow into my bath.
Raw sewage coming up into your bath?
Yeah, literally other people's sewage, faeces, tissues, the lot.
What do you want to happen now? What are you looking for?
Well, I just feel that they haven't compensated me. I mean, I've lost all my flooring that I had laid down. Yep. I lost out on rugs, my bathroom mat, towels.
Oh, my goodness. What a disgusting story. Leisha's on the line. Good morning, Leisha. Oh, no, you're there. Sorry, hello.
Hello.
Yes, I'm still getting used to the faders. It's going to cost £1,000 to replace.
Yeah, roughly, I've worked out.
Enough. Ben, you have this one. It sounds horrible.
I know. I'm quite glad I wasn't there when all of this was happening.
It sounds awful.
Well, we've been speaking to a few people on this. We've been coordinating with the Housing Association about what's going on here. But also, I believe, Leisha, you told us that you had someone from Environmental Health come out to have a look. So I spoke to the Borough Council to get a response on this in terms of what they think should be done here. And the spokesperson said that Housing Association tenants should report cases where it appears that a sewage leak is caused in part by a blocked drain to the Housing Association for clearance. What they're saying is, where the Housing Association Association have a responsibility to clear the blockage. The council advises tenants to put any claim they wish to make in writing to the Housing Association. So that's what we've heard from the council. So what I think where we need to move forward with this is, Leisha, can you total up all of kind of the cost of this? Can you outline? So the flooring will cost X. The ruined. It was rugs and towels, wasn't it?
Disgusting. Yeah, I've sent you the email this morning, actually.
Fantastic. So you sent me over some details in terms of a rundown of what costs will be.
Yeah, all the rough estimates, yeah.
Good. Well, I think what we need to do is we need to get you to write something, a letter to the company to say, this is what I've totaled up to be the damage.
Well, that's the thing. I actually have already done that.
Okay.
To Pilgrim, to the Housing Association, sorry.
Okay, that's fine. Well, what we'll do is we'll chase it up with the Housing Association, and we'll see what we get back from that. Okay.
Okay, then. Thank you,
Leisha. Thank you very much for that. It just sounds horrible. How disgusting! Everywhere, all over the. Ben, listen. Thank you very much for holding my hand through that.
Right.
I was particularly nervous. I'm only here for a week.
You've done splendidly.
I don't want to get sued.
Don't worry.
I'm not getting paid enough to cover any legal expenses. Listen, thank you very much for listening. I hope you've enjoyed it. Nick Coffey will be coming up shortly. Let's play a song, shall we? Why not? Let's have. Christina Perry. Yes, please. On the show tomorrow, unemployment in the UK now stands at 2.65 million, following a decrease of 35,000 in the 3 months to February 2012. But despite the drop, no one is fool enough to think that it's getting easier.
And Bugs talking.
This is BBC Three Counties Radio.